order of the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Opening announcements, Denise.
Tonight's meeting is being live recorded on CNET. There is a link to the direct, there's a link to the direct link right on our actual agenda. We are always looking for volunteers for open positions on various committees and boards. If you have any interest in joining one of them, please visit our website or contact the staff, and we will help get you involved in whatever committee or board or authority you'd be interested in.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda to put the Port Matola Fire Company on first and then our township engineer Don Franson second?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Bob moved and Ron seconded. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Port Matola Fire Company, you're up.
I thought you were going to skate out loud. You just prepping me.
So for those of you that don't know me, I'm John Witherite, current Port Matola Fire Chief. So it's nice to meet everyone. I had handed out some documents to you guys. I'm going to start attending quarterly, just to kind of have the transparency between us and you guys. The first one that you guys are going to see is a call volume report. Right now we're at 47 calls.
That'll be that one.
Yep, so it'll be this one here. That'll give you the incident types that we're handling, so you guys kind of get to see what we're doing out there. The second report that I have given you guys is the municipality call volume report. So you guys right now for the year are, I believe, on the second page.
No, Halfmoon. So we're the third one down.
Third one down. All right, so you guys are right at 12 calls, or that's Houston. You're at 3 calls this
Three
year.
calls.
So
And that's just for this first quarter.
that's just for this first quarter. So and you flip a couple pages, you're going to see our personnel with the amount of time and stuff that we've dedicated so far this year. So right now we're right at a total of 254 hours, and that is on scene time. So that doesn't include, getting in the vehicle, driving to the station, coming back, cleaning apparatus, putting everything away. Also doesn't include any training that we do every Wednesday night. So, and again, that's just for this quarter. So,
With your permission, can I scan these reports in and make them public on the Halfmoon Township Facebook page?
yeah, if you don't mind leaving the personnel one out, if you want to scratch
No
names,
problem.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I can leave that one
But,
off. But as
so-
far as the other numbers, you
Yeah.
can get them up there. So if
Yep.
anybody wants to see them, they can take a look.
Absolutely.
Sorry we don't have them for everyone in the crowd, folks. I guess we didn't anticipate this many
If there's,
attendees.
yeah, if anyone's interested, I can pass around something, so. Alright, the next thing that I have here is the colorful multi-page sheet that you guys have. So I've been working with Denise and a couple other people to put together a really good capital budget that we can just turn over every 20 years. And what you'll find on here is what we have come up with. Every apparatus is listed with the tools and equipment that are considered capital items. So near the fourth page, I believe. So how we did this is everything on the capital, we have a couple different ways to pay for this stuff. Rather it be getting a grant, we can do fundraising. We can go after COG to see what they have available. We also have fire relief
Just to clarify, he means the
This,
upper bald eagle
Bald Eagle
half moon
Half Moon,
cog,
yes.
which is separate from center region
yes,
cog.
correct. Good call on that. So you'll see down there the list of stuff. Last year, we got close to 12,000 in grants. From our cog, we got 15,000. Fire relief gave close to 30,000.
I got a question. That fire relief, is that all the member municipalities' firemen's relief? Or is that just what it?
I believe how that is done is you guys pitch into a fire relief that handles all of that for
Well,
us.
the state gives us the money and we turn it over
Yes,
to you.
that's-
But that's all the
Yes.
municipalities that you serve.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, and you'll see a gray line of what we had chimed in as well.
If the board wanted to get more in-depth information about the fireman's relief, I think the individual to contact would be fellow Upper Bald Eagle cog member Keith Reese.
The president right now is Dean Rudy. So,
Okay. I just know Keith usually has a pretty good amount of information about what's going on with it. So.
and in orange there you'll see 54,000 that we were not able to come up with last year. So with the way we have this set up, we're able to roll that stuff in to this upcoming year that we're in right now. So what we're looking at is right around 53,000 in capital expenses for this year, and then we had what we didn't get done last year. So we're right at 113,000 in capital expenses that, you know, we are trying to figure out how we can make it work.
Just for clarification, we kind of attribute not making those purchases of 54,000 last year mostly to COVID issues.
Yeah.
Trying to not ask for money because we didn't know where things were going, and
Correct. Everyone's budget was tight. We didn't, we were trying to make everything work.
yeah. Fact is, though, this stuff needs to be funded. These guys, we ask these guys to run into a burning building as volunteers for us, and they need all the safety gear that we can possibly supply to them for their own safety and the safety of all the residents. Because I've always felt like, when we over in the Bald Eagle Cog, when we're talking about these kind of things, I always point out that, you might not want that one device that might cost $5,000 because statistically we only use it once a year or once every couple of years, but it's that one time it needs to be used. And what if it's your house or your loved one who's in a car that's mangled after being flipped or that kind of thing? So I've personally always felt like whatever these guys want, they should get. So again, and to highlight, you guys run into burning buildings for us and you don't even get paid for it.
We got a question in the audience there. Ms. Perkins.
I just have a question. In terms of your fundraising, does that include the drive?
Yes.
That you, the mailer and stuff like that? Okay.
Yes.
So what portion of that versus other fundraising, can you break that fundraising down in proportion? I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
How many of our residents actually respond and personally donate directly?
Yeah, so I don't have access to that particular data. However, I can get it and relay it back to you guys at the next meeting. So, yeah, if you have the correct information, go ahead.
So I'm Josh Witherite. I'm the president of the fire company. Last year, if I remember right, it was close to 42,000 that all the townships contributed in for the mail out. That's what we made through the mail out, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
We thank every individual that gave us a donation. It helped us a lot. On that, it helped us buy a new building for out back and moves our small apparatus from inside to out back so we're not double stacked, and it made our response times quicker. We don't have to pull rigs out to get another rig out. And we also bought and built that brand new brush truck ourselves. What did we get from COG for that?
Do you remember
Was it-
that?
I don't recall.
I
Was it
don't recall
15?
either.
If it's the 15,000 on here, then
No,
yes,
that-
it's 15.
that
I
was
thought that
Or
was
was it
for other.
Yeah, that was for other stuff.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't. That's kind of what we've been using that for.
Good.
The other fundraising that we've been doing is last year we did the meat drives.
Did bingo.
We did bingo. We'd really like to keep going with the bingo, but we don't have enough members that are in good health that know what they're doing with bingo and want to keep doing bingo, because the members that we have that are doing bingo run all your calls, do all the other fundraisings, and on top of that, all the trainings, and we're kind of beat and tired on that, plus work for a living.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, well, we did that 3-day festival last year. I don't remember if we did anything else other than the craft show, but that was in with that. This year we're doing the gun raffle and a craft show, and I think that's all we're going to do for fundraising. Other than we have a meat raffle ticket out again.
Did you bring any with you?
I did not.
You can get them at
Great
Wayne Farm
opportunity.
though.
Yes, you can.
You can get
Yes.
them at Ways Fruit Farm, Lincoln's Market in Port Matilda. The Pine Grove Mills Country Store, the little gas station there in Pine Grove Mills, you can get them there too. But we've
Well,
been trying.
and I will say that the PayPal link that you have, 2 clicks and it's done.
Yes.
Like, it's super easy. So if somebody hasn't done it that way, do it that way.
Yeah, we've been trying hard to do some fundraising to kind of better the building, better us there, try to keep members coming there.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, that link is for the general donations, correct? The meat raffle you have to get.
The meat raffle we have
Yeah.
to buy.
Yeah, you have
Right,
to
right,
go.
yeah, the
Yeah.
PayPal
I just wanted to
is,
clarify that.
yes, not,
Yes.
thank you. Yes.
Does that try to
Yes, no, it's
clarify
great.
it up?
It's great, yeah.
I guess I would add to Bob's concern here. Of course, our budgeting starts in, well, let's just say July.
Yep.
I know you're gonna be back. If you could put together a list of needs and wants, you're welcome to come back next month.
Yep.
As
So
far as I'm concerned.
they're pretty much all on here. That is the colorful one. So you'll see for 2021,
no, no, no.
2022.
He's talking about, you're talking about
yeah.
this.
Yes.
Ron, this is the list of the individual items that would make up this $83,000
Right.
between the 2 years.
Right.
With the ones in red, obviously, from 2001, the things that need to be
20 and 21.
purchased in retrospect.
So, and I'm just going to point out, so in the past, what we've done for this capital item stuff is we really don't have a line item budget for capital. So what we had done is anything that we didn't spend out of our general went to capital. And sometimes that's a problem because we run tight on the budget, so there's no money to put into capital. So when we do come into, needing a new apparatus or needing air packs or something, we're not every year putting that money back to build that. So that's, something that we should probably, look into when we start budgeting to add, a line item so we're kind of putting stuff back. So,
I'll also add that this budget stretches out 10 years. We're only looking at 3 years of it because the page is only so long.
yep.
It's a really well done, well written proposal with keeping in mind maintenance schedules, mandated replacements of certain items. I think that's what your column here is, right?
Yeah, that's
the red
your-
numbers.
That's your NFPA life
Yeah.
expectancy.
So every
again. Yeah.
7 years you'd need tires, and every 10 years you need 3 feet, a 3-inch hose, and so on and so forth. Some of those things are needed. Yes,
that is
exactly.
the NFPA life
Yeah,
cycle.
many of these items need to be purchased soon. And some of them, aren't even on or display here because they're so far out. But it's a good way to try and balance out the cost, the capital budget costs every year, so it's kind of the same every year going from year to year. So these guys know what they need to spend every year, rather than, well, this year we're only going to spend 15,000, but next year we're going to have to spend 100,000, and so on and so forth.
Yep. And there was a lot of legwork to try and keep that yearly expense kind of at a flat line, so we're not jumping from 100,000 to 10,000. So there was a lot of number crunching, and again, I did this year, inflation, you know how that goes. So I do want to add, with you guys implementing your fire tax, we were able to get some extra stuff that we did put away. Denise, do you have the exact numbers, ballpark?
Exact
I know.
ballpark.
Yeah, the ballpark numbers. I know you gave us money for like air packs to put stuff away.
Yeah.
And that's a big help because, like I said, the only way we're able to save is to not spend our general funds. So we have to penny pinch to put that money away. And by you guys being able to give us that extra, that's money that's now allocated to those items in the future.
But it's not all of it.
It's not all of it, no. And like Bob had said, this page here is everything that is on this document just pulled nicely into a list.
Are you doing membership drives?
So
Or-
we do the mailers that you guys receive in the mail. That is what
for
we consider.
fundraising, and then
Yeah.
that's a membership of sorts.
That's pretty much just a fundraiser drive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like an actual membership to be part of the volunteer fire company.
So we don't do one of those. If you would like to join, just come over to one of our meetings, or we can get you an
I know
application or
membership's a
something.
big issue for you.
Yeah.
Real big issue.
Yep.
So is volunteering, and I don't mean volunteering to ride the trucks and fight the fires,
Bunch of
but
other stuff too.
yeah, there's all kinds of things that need to be done over there, whether it's bookkeeping or fundraising, or I'm sure you guys could add to that list.
Yeah.
But they need people willing to put in even just a couple of hours a week.
Yep.
It would really go toward a good cause if you have the time, if you have the expertise in something that would benefit them. I'd implore you to please look into it at the very least. So
Yep. So the other reason I'm here is one of the things that we were looking at was the American Recovery funding that all the townships had received. There for a while, it was really kind of stringent of where you could spend it and where you couldn't. I don't know the exact on what can and can't be bought with that, but I've heard that some of the volunteer fire companies now are able to get some of that. So I didn't know if Halfmoon, again, verify it before you go do it, but if we could get some of this stuff covered out of that funding.
We'll have to look into it.
Yeah,
It's been all over the map.
Yep, exactly.
You think it's one thing, and then they say, no, wait a minute, it's gonna be something else.
Yep.
So,
well, may I?
Sure.
We currently have approximately $150,000 in ARPA funds sitting in an account. I do believe later this year we are going to get an additional $150,000 in ARPA funds. Those funds are not budgeted for anything correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, they are not budgeted for anything at the moment. So I propose, if I had my druthers, if I was the one with the checkbook and I didn't have to have approval from a board, if I had that much money, I'd be writing a check for $83,727. But it takes a board decision to do that. So, and obviously there are other member municipalities here who
Yes. Yep.
should contribute. Now, we do have to remember that Halfmoon Township is the, for lack of better terms, rich municipality out of the municipalities that make up the upper Halfmoon
Yeah,
Bald Eagle cog.
Bob, also keep in mind that you guys also have other fire departments that, serve for you
Yes.
guys as well. Like,
So
where's
we
Mark?
should
You know,
slip them something
Yeah.
as well. Exactly. And
Exactly,
thank you for
so-
bringing that up. I don't know, I did almost forget about that. But Warriors Mark also is part of our, we're in
Yes.
part of their coverage area as well. Not nearly as much as you guys, but it's the western end of the township, I believe.
Yep.
I suspect when the ARPA money, whatever clearance we get, they'll say you can spend it on Jaws of Life, but you can't spend it on an air pack.
it may
You know,
be.
I-
I don't know.
Once we find out, I think maybe you guys ought to come over and we'll talk about
Yep.
what we can and what we can't.
Forgive me, but I thought it was finalized and we were cleared to spend it on pretty much any capital purchase. Denise, do you have any?
So the final rule that came out from the Treasury is that the ARPA money, you can use it in the category for lost revenue, up to $10 million of lost revenue. We didn't receive $10 million, of course. It's just under 300,000 we'll have total. They are very specific about the items that you can consider in that, and you cannot put it into your pension funds, and you cannot use it to pay off debt. But it can be used for any category when you're considering, for normal operations. So where originally the rule was that you couldn't use it for certain fire companies, depending on their status of 403B, now that money is available to use as general loss revenue.
So how do we prove a loss?
You don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
Don't have to prove it.
Not now. It was the formula.
Okay.
So the money's there, or gonna be there.
That's something the board can definitely talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not something we have to do right
No.
away, but I don't want to put it off either. I think this is important that these guys get the tools that they need to do
Bob,
the
you're our
job. so.
Upper Baldy cog rep. Do you want to bring that up at the next meeting with the other municipalities and
Yeah,
see
and
how
see.
everybody feels about kicking in?
Yeah,
Maybe we can make up the
I'll
difference.
try and figure out some kind of fair formula, I guess. Or maybe the five of us on that board can figure out a fair formula or something. But again, I don't want to understate the fact that our contribution will be more than any other individual municipality. In fact, probably more than the other municipalities put together. You know, we're talking about Houston Township, Worth Township, Port Matilda Borough.
Serve all of Taylor or not?
Taylor,
Not all
yeah.
of Taylor now.
Part of Taylor.
But
Yep.
yeah, we'll sit down and hammer things out, but I really think it's morally the right thing to do to use some of that money to fund our fire departments. It is just the right thing to do, so.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How often, I mean, we're talking about needing a lot of money.
Yep.
I mean, and how often do you need this amount of money? How often do you think? Like
So,
every year? Every other year?
so it's going to depend on year. Right now, we're averaging 50,000 in capital expenses.
Okay.
I don't have figured in there apparatus replacement. I don't have figured in there portable radios. And those are two, big ticket items. A fire engine, $600,000-$700,000 plus. So that's not even in there. Like I said before, I just took chief recently in the last couple years, and started working on this capital. So I started from scratch. So like I said, we put the 20-year plan together. So essentially, if I step down, the next chief steps up. They can pick right up on the document. 20 years from now, you take that document and just set it right beside the other one, and just keep going.
Yeah, the reason for me to ask that is, we're talking about allocating some one-time funding to cover a deficit this year. If we got $100,000 problem every year,
It's
Let's
just
say-
a Band-Aid on it.
well, I'm just saying that you need to have some funding mechanism. If you have that big of a deficit, there has to be some kind of funding mechanism to cover that. I mean, eventually, you're not gonna be able to do what you do.
Sooner or later,
And
we're going to make the
inflation's
decision.
raised its ugly head too, and that's gonna have a big impact on cost.
Yes.
So,
What it'll boil down to is, I'll have to make the decision, or the chief at the time will have to decide what we consider, really important, what we consider not important. And if, maybe we make the wrong choice where we don't replace tires that year because we needed the jaws of life, and a tire blows out and the thing flips over. You know,
Right, well, yeah, you
that,
can't.
that's what will happen if we can't get it figured out. We'll be making those decisions, and it may end up well for us, that nothing happens, it may end up bad for us.
You don't wanna get like the railroads and they leave the track go because it's the last thing they wanna maintain, then they can't get there to deliver the product and people
Yep.
quit using them, so, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we also need to remember that this 83,000 this year is high because it's with
It's a-
30,000-ish spillover from last year.
Yeah.
So usually this list would be about around, I mean, according to the budget, would be around $50,000.
Yeah.
You know, but when we changed our tax structure last year and went with a direct fire department tax, that helped this issue, but it's not nearly enough. I've been lobbying the other member municipalities of Bald Eagle to do the same type of tax structure so they can be guaranteed how much money they're going to get every year. You know, the idea is not necessarily to raise taxes, it's to break off that segment of tax and put it over here so it's dedicated for the fire department. That's what we did. And that, again, I think I already said this, but that ensures that these guys know exactly how much money they're gonna get. Right now, it's kind of a sliding scale, and it's hard to budget when you aren't sure what your income is gonna be from year to year.
You guys have anything else to add?
Nope. Do you guys have any questions for us at all?
I don't, but I know I'm gonna be talking to you soon.
All right. So, all righty.
Anybody out in the audience have any questions for the fire department?
I just have a
Yes,
question.
please.
You do one fundraising that you send out, because we got our mailer and
Yep.
mailed it back. How about doing a second one, like in the summertime? Sometimes people, when it comes out, it's like, well, maybe budget-wise, they can't afford it, and then, of course, they forget about it, but maybe if another mailer went out
Yeah.
halfway through the year.
So what we do, and you can elaborate, but it actually comes out twice. You should be getting it, like, when's your dates? Spring and fall, I believe.
Yeah,
We've only ever
but I
gotten one.
think it only, it's the, whoever didn't send in a donation, they get us like a second, you know,
Yeah, I think
reminder
that's the case.
saying, hey, you know, we're still sending the fund drive out. Maybe you have money now that you're able to donate some. But that is a good idea.
I'm just saying, again, you know, I know lots of WPSU, they, and or radio and everything,
Yep.
they do fundraisers a couple times a year, and why not? I don't know how much it costs to send out those mailers,
The,
but
the past 2 years, we didn't do the gun raffle, and to be honest with you, that actually hurt us a little bit. And we didn't do it because of the, you know, the COVID status and everything. But the year before, or the year that we did it, the last year we did it was, I think it was 19. And we cleared 20-some thousand, and it was a one-day event, but it's a lot of legwork to do the gun raffle. We go around and get as many donations for guns as we can, and a lot of other legwork that goes into it. But we're all volunteer.
So,
Well, seeing none of the other hands, thank
Alrighty.
you guys for coming in.
yep,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is Mr. Don Franson, Township Engineer.
Okay, I see there's 3 items under old business, I think, we're gonna talk about.
Do you want to start, we're going to start with the right-of-way presentation?
Yes, I watched the last couple meetings and talking about Smith Road, the questions of right-of-way widths came up, and just go through the slides here.
This is going to be hard to see.
Basically, I did deed research through Webbia and found that along Smith Road, there's actually about 22 subdivisions in place with subdivision plats. And it may be a little tough to see here, but basically, the right-of-way of Smith Road is 33 feet, 16 and a half feet either side of center line. That was the old right-of-way. Now, there was through the right-of-way, or through these subdivision plats, different right-of-way widths have been established. And if you look, the black line is the 16 and a half from center line. There's three properties that have 16 and a half with an ultimate of 25 feet. And what that means is the actual deed descriptions still go to that 16 and a half foot line, but there's a dash line on the map saying ultimate right-of-way. So in effect, really, that's still 16 and a half feet. There are several plats where they established a 25-foot from center line right-of-way width. And there's actually a couple plats over by Sky Harbor is one in particular. It's variable width. And if I'll stand up and point to it, but you can see down here, this line actually goes out quite a ways from the center line of the road. It's much more than 25 feet. But maybe Denise, go up to start from the beginning up there. Ways Fruit Farm, that hasn't been subdivided for a long time, and that's still showing a 16 and a half foot right away. There at the veterinarian's office, that shows a 25 foot. As you go down through these newer subdivisions, they're showing, for the most part, 25 feet. There's a couple in there that are showing 25 as an ultimate. Like I say, the right-of-way, if you look at the plats, they go to the 16 and a half foot line mark. But as you go down, like Red Pine, Blue Spruce, that whole length along there till you get down to Cornfield, that's still 16 and a half feet on the northern side. The southern side, there by Morris Road and between Toe Hill Road, it's variable width. A couple of lots are shown as being about 16 and a half, and then it does a couple of dog legs and it gets out to maybe 25, 30 feet. It doesn't actually label it. And as I said, as you go on down through Sky Harbor, that one goes out quite a ways. And you get down towards Tom's Lane on one side and Buckhorn, that subdivision, that's all showing as 25 feet. And that goes all the way around on the south and west side of Smith Road as 25 feet. On the north side and east side, or I'm getting it backwards, it's the west side, that's still 16 and a half through there. And the reason I did that, the question is, if we want to widen the road, and let me back up one bit. The other thing I should point out is Smith Road's not centered on the right-of-way all the time either. So it may say 25 feet, but that 25 feet may be 5 or 6 feet off the edge of the road. It's funny, it varies quite a bit as you go down through. It's an older road, so you would expect it to not be dead on in the center. But like here's a photo, is that fence on the line? Probably. And so you see how much room we have to work with there. Go ahead.
It's right up on the other side of the street too.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the side that's variable, and on the other side, that's where it's 16 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that hedgerow is pretty much online. And like I said, the reason I started to say, the reason I did this is, the question is, even if we want to widen Smith Road, say 2 feet on either side and put in a 2 foot or 4 foot shoulders, in some places we're going to be tight against it. And I wanted to see what the plats were showing. Is it going to be bad the whole way? There's some areas that are where you got the room, and there's some areas where you don't. So as we look to doing anything along Smith Lane, like originally we were going to do some additional stormwater work on the west/north side between Cornfield and Buffalo.
Yes.
And because we had done a couple years ago from there down to where the pipe crosses underneath Smith Road. We went with a better swale than what was in there. We have it under drained. We have an 8-inch pipe under it. And then we have the larger stone in the swale. We're having issues of erosion using too small a stone. So if we want to go up above, like I said, from Cornfield down, I think we have enough room. One of the things we'd want to do is go out with a metal detector and verify that the pins that are in place are what is shown on the plans, and I think it is. I think we're in good shape there, but if we would want to do that, it's going to be tight. So we can't make an elaborate swale and widen. We can't widen and put a swale on that side. One or the other. Now on the other side, we may be able to go out 2 more feet, or 3 feet, and then put a decent shoulder in. And looking there's a good example of, that's a Long Ways Fruit Farm, and we know we have 16.5 feet. Typically, poles like that are in the right-of-way, but they're like right on the line. So there's really not much we can do on that side between just the poles being there and then that bank. I mean, to get that widened out and to put like a 3-to-1 slope on that bank, it's going to go back quite a ways. And then on the other, here's an area where you have several trees that are definitely tight against the road. You know, if we want to start taking some trees out, we got to verify they're in the right of way. And here's another shot looking back at that fence. Is that humongous tree in the right of way, or is it on private property? I'm going to guess it's that. My bet is that fence is pretty much right on the right of way line.
If that tree's not in the right of way, it will be in 10 years.
It'll be in the middle of the road.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, if that's a tree, if you look up at it, there's some limbs that it's dying. But anyhow, that was something I wanted to just show to the supervisors. This is sort of what we're up against: a crazy right-of-way width through there. If we want to do some widening, we can always look at a property and say, to the property owners, can you give us 3 foot easement along the road? When you do that, that easement is in an area that's in a setback, so you're not impacting their ability to build. So it may not be as horrible as you would think, like, taking 5 feet from the front of a property. Well, it's in a setback, so there's nothing buildable there. And I just wanted to show you that to get an idea of, if we want to try to widen Smith Road, there's places we can do it. And when Denise and I drove it 2 weeks ago or whenever that was, I mean, there's some places on, I'll call it the south or the east side, where you can maybe get some widening in. But what you don't want to do is have a 18-foot road, 20-foot, 22-foot road, 18-foot, because you have to transition. You're making it unsafe if you have all of a sudden you just juke out a couple feet to get the width in.
What did,
Go ahead.
I just had a question about the width. What was the minimum width that you found when you?
It's about 18, 19 feet. Like PennDOT for liquid fuels, you can actually go down to 16 foot for a cartway. But the cartway through there is
Pretty tight.
between 18 and 19.
Okay.
And I will also add this. If we were to go through and magically widen that road 4 feet, speeds will increase. How many times, Dave, you may remember, you pave a road and then 2 weeks later everyone's calling and saying, why'd you make this a racetrack? I mean, people, the wider it is, the faster you can go. So sometimes that 18-foot is almost a little bit of like a traffic calming. But like I said, it is wider than what is permitted under PennDOT's liquid fuels program.
I have a question, a clarification question. If we were to need to encroach on folks' property for this and take 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, we have to financially compensate them for that real estate, correct?
If they're willing to take $1. I've worked on actually many projects where the property owners were fine with making an improvement, but not 20 feet obviously, but as long as you're doing 3-5 feet, sometimes they're willing to say, okay, for $1 I'll give you this right away, or this easement,
But
because
what-
you're not really taking their land,
Yeah.
you're just getting an easement on it. So
Now, but what happens if you get that one person right in the middle who refuses to play ball.
Well, then you could go into a process where you would get it appraised, and the cost of the appraisal would be probably much more than the value of the land. But you know, I mean, most people I've worked with on several projects, and I have not had that happen yet. And I don't think this is real wood, but I have not had that happen yet. But yes, it could
There's
happen.
always that possibility, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I just wanted that out, so like as we move ahead and thinking about what we want to do on Smith Road, I think we really do want to get that stormwater from Cornfield down in. That's a place that it erodes out every time.
Oh, there's a couple areas along there that, you know, I think need repaired.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I can't see widening the whole thing that wide.
Right. And another place is, which is going to be on the agenda here in a little bit, Paul's Lane, from Paul's Lane down to almost where Lutz comes out, is another place where there's too small a stone. And,
That's a drainage issue.
And it's where the steep slopes are. Cornfield down is steep, Paul's Lane down is steep. It just needs to be done, and I've made a little wider, and instead of stone about this big, stone about this big. No one likes the looks of the stone along the road like that, but in steep areas where you don't have a lot of room, that works best. Now, backing up a bit, 2 years ago, maybe 3 now, we did Doe Lane and Buckhorn, and we used sod. Now, I use sod because whenever you try to put mat down and seed it, and it rains hard, the contractor's there the next day, you know, next month, putting it down again. We did sod. It's a little more expensive, but I think it turned out really nice. I mean, unfortunately, it was a real dry period, and the guys had to hit it quite a bit with water. But if you can get grass to establish, it's better than stone. It helps, you get some infiltration, a little better infiltration, but if you try to seed some areas and your slopes on your swale are like this, it's not gonna work. So you need, 8 feet, 10 feet wide to have a little swale like this. But with that sod, and I've done that with a couple other townships now in more residential areas. Like if you're along a farm field, you wouldn't do it. But in these residential areas, it grows in great, and you don't have people calling you up and saying, there's mud in my driveway because it rained hard last night.
I'd like to interject a thank you to these guys for helping with
Oh,
that
yes,
swale,
thank you.
because they would come over from time to time and water it, because we had a really dry spell that summer.
Yeah, it's like
So-
the day after they put it down, it decided to get real warm, and there was good effort to keep it wet, so
Yeah.
because it looked like it was gonna die there for a while.
And it looks good. I walk my dog up there all the
Yeah,
time.
no,
It looks great.
I think that worked out, but sometimes if it's a little too steep, you can't use it.
Yeah.
Like the 2 areas I'm talking about, we don't have the width we need, and it's a little bit steeper, so I'm talking rock, some R3 or big number 4s or something like that.
I have both of them up if you want to.
Okay.
So we went out last week, and there were 2 roads. So we were made aware of some current drainage concerns on Orchard Road and Paul's Lane. I'm going to start with the Paul's Lane
Okay,
one,
yep.
if you want.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you explain what you're doing here about the depression.
Yeah, I did not want to be in this photo, by the way.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. No, Denise had gotten an email from a resident saying that due to the way that road dips, that's what I'm doing there, I'm doing this. Due to the way the road dips, when you plow it, you're not getting the snow off of this, the invert of that swale going across there. And so it's staying icy. And so we actually drove out around the cul-de-sac. We don't have photos of the cul-de-sac, but this is a road that, if it isn't done this year, I would say, as we look at our 5-year plan, that would be one I'd throw on for next year. Now you get to the back where the cul-de-sac is, that just sheet flows into yards. There's no curb there. There's no real defined swales. I mean, this is an older subdivision where they built this stuff, and the theory was that when the houses would get built, they would make sure that water goes around the house instead of, down the drive. I don't know that there is an issue there, but that's something when we would overlay it, we would have to take a good look at. The road is in bad shape.
So when we looked at the 5-year road plan, we had downloaded a CSV file, which gave us the 5-year road plan and put those robotic numbers all together. That's when the engineer, the Roadmaster, and I all sat down and we, independently before we had those pavement verification numbers, we had said what roads we thought were bad. We came into the meeting with the data and then we kind of came up with the idea of what roads we would pave. Paul's Lane was missed in that CSV file download, but when we went into robotics, we found it. And it is actually one of the top 5 roads that needs some pavement fixing or needs to be analyzed as far as the priorities. So this is also, you can see this is along Smith where the outlet pipe is going down, where the rock needs to be larger. This is where it keeps washing out down Smith. And usually if you drive it, you can see there's like a fun little path that all these stones seem to end up. So this is a picture of this. Now this pavement actually ended up worse yet. I got some pictures that weren't in this. So right now this edge of Paul's and Smith is actually ripped up more than this at this point.
Now, there is an inlet at the uphill side of that entrance out. Yeah, it's right there. So it doesn't need to have as severe of a dip there that is there. If there was nothing, pipe or inlet to catch that water, that would be needed. So I think when we would overlay this road, there would be maybe a little bit of a leveling and patching going on there to get that so that when it gets plowed, it's plowing the whole thing instead of areas just getting.
Ron, do you think that is caused by settling? Because I know that pipe went in there probably sometime in the 90s, late 1990s.
It could be. It could.
Okay, I just didn't know if they just milled.
I know it
across
hasn't been paved since then. So.
Oh, well, yeah, it's been a long
Yeah.
time.
Now, judging by I wouldn't be surprised that pavement's 30 years old.
Don, you have a depth issue there too, don't you, with that pipe?
The pipe is.
Near the surface.
Yeah, it's probably, it's not bad at the lower end. The uphill end is maybe 8 inches of cover.
Right.
So if we were to build a little more material over it, that would help us with that.
Would a the fiber mat help keep the cracking from occurring?
Well, yeah, it could do that. But if it doesn't look like, I got to look up in the pipe, and it doesn't look like we have any deformation of the pipe, which can happen when you don't have enough cover. The pipe will eventually, it actually gets a dimple in the top. It'll just collapse. I don't think that's it, but maybe that's something when we do the road, we also adjust the elevation of that box, maybe put a riser on it, drop it a bit, get the cover we need on it. I mean, that's been there since the 90s, so it's been there almost 30 years. So plastic should be lasting a lot longer than that. That shouldn't be an issue. But if we don't have a good cover on it and it's going to keep cracking, then drop it down a bit. Oh, you do have a photo. Okay. Yeah, there's a photo looking back at the cul-de-sac, and you can see it all just sheets flows across. I don't know if the houses are built so that it goes into diversion swales around them. Sometimes the builders won't be looking uphill when they put a house in, and then they wonder why the water's running right down into the garage or things. I mean, I would recommend this road, since we've already put out our work for this year, get put on the paving schedule for next year. And we have a 5-year plan, but you move things around.
Is there something we need to do at that pipe there this year? Because if there's frost action and everything, I walk by there all the time, so I see how bad it is. So.
Well, if we were to just go in and patch that area, we could do that. It's going to be a little more expensive to just have. If we come up with a few other areas throughout the spring or summer, and we say we're going to bring a contractor in and hit 6 or 7 different spots,
I just don't want it to fail completely.
Yeah, well, like I said, I didn't notice it was deforming at all. So
Okay.
if a pipe has been properly compacted along the sides, it can't push out and
Right.
then dimple.
Right.
I mean, if the sides are loose and it pushes out,
It can
it'll
do
just
that.
go, it'll become an egg.
Yep.
I've seen many eggs.
And you can use ARPA money for this as well.
I think that would be a good use of that. I'd like to point out just really quickly that just the examples of Smith Road and how our right-of-way goes like this down the road, and the problems with the drainage and the various subdivisions that were put in the 90s, and because it was left up to the developer to do the drainage properly. This highlights the need for proper planning services, which we get from the Center Region COG. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, now Orchard Road. On down in the agenda is the paving award for Doe Drive and a portion of Orchard Road. Denise had gotten a phone call from one of the property owners.
The Perkins. Basically, they had some concerns about the fact that there was a paving bid out, but we hadn't corrected some drainage issues. So I wasn't made aware of drainage issues, so we went out and I met with them and the Warners, who are their neighbors, and we walked the road. Well, I walked the road with the Warners, and Tammy and I had talked on the phone about some of the problems that they were experiencing. I went out, looked at some stuff. I called Dawn. Dawn came out, and we looked, and we went out twice. The first time we went out, we were able to locate a couple of inlets, but I wanted to kind of put this and show you the subdivision plan. So this is Tammy's house here as part of the subdivision plan, if you can see this. This is Orchard Road here, and then this is Darius Lane. And so we're going to show you some pictures of kind of what's going on at the Perkins driveway. You're going to see that.
Yeah, before you move on, I will point out one thing. If you look at how the contours run, this up through like this was probably the original flow path. It didn't follow the road. Just pointing that out.
So I went out, this was the snowstorm when I first talked to the Perkins, and I went out the first day, and then I took pictures. I came out the second day. So this is the first day. There was still some snow, and you can kind of see how it's building up, and you can kind of see right here that's coming across the driveway oddly. The next day I went back where it had melted a little bit more, and now you can see their driveway where it's pooling here, and their septic fields down here right beyond this fence. So this is Darius Lane in the background here, and this is part of the Perkins property. This is right along the edge. Now the water from the top here sheets down and pools down by this fence. But what's happening, you can see there's a pool here, and we'll go further here. This is the edge of Darius. So this is Darius now coming down, and this is Orchard. This is the other side of, this is the end of Darius, and that's Orchard. Tammy's property is up there. And this is a electrical box on the one side of
Yep.
Darius. So when we took a look, sorry Don, you're in the pictures
Oh,
again. On the one side of Darius, there's this grate, and you can see there's a pipe. We couldn't find where it was coming out. If you want to
yeah.
kind of talk about
It
outfall.
either goes across Darius. Now, as you get onto the property below, there is a little bit of a hill about this high, and I would have expected to see the outlet of the pipe right there. Now, I was looking with a metal detector, and we found out it's a plastic pipe. So I did not find it. After a closer look, I determined it was plastic. But it does look like it's going across Darius. But there's no clear outfall. If you go back that one photo, you can almost see where it's damp. Next one back, I think. Yeah, like right in here. It almost looks like water's coming.
Yes, that whole area is wet predominantly most of the year, and then it flows south down the road. In front of our arena, it's wet this significant portion of the year, and then the water will go a little bit more until it hits our driveway, and then it comes in our driveway. So that whole area there is wet most of the year.
Yeah, so I don't know if the pipe actually is outletting in there and it's deep enough that it's acting like a French drain and it's pulling water across.
There's definitely something, the sinkhole, so I would assume it's the pipe.
I mean, we have a lot of
Yeah,
springs up the
okay,
road, too.
I did not notice it, I was walking around, figured I'd fall into it, but, now there was when that subdivision behind it went in, if you go forward, one,
Forward.
yeah.
Oh, there, the,
Yeah. This pole there, the utilities go up along actually this side of Darius. And you can almost see the trench line, but I'm guessing that's electric, telephone, and cable. Because the houses, there's 3 houses back in there, and none of them have any overhead going into them. So it's all underground. Now, I think all yours is overhead.
Yes.
Yeah, so that only feeds back, but maybe when that got put in, there was a pipe in the way, and they got rid of it. And the water is still trying to seep over that way. I
Yeah,
don't.
things weren't exactly done correctly when those development was put in, those houses were put in.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not saying that happened, but when you can't find an outfall in a pipe, it may be missing. But we gotta figure out what's going on
There's a
there.
piece of pipe under there somewhere.
Yeah, and it's a 15 or an 18. Yes,
That's the
ma'am.
question. What does the water do to the cables that are in the ground?
Well, if they're actually in conduits, it doesn't do anything, and even if they're what's called direct burial, it wouldn't hurt them. I mean, they have a thick plastic coating, so they don't have to be direct burial. And if it's older, they probably aren't. They're probably just buried directly. I mean, they're not in conduits. I might have said that backwards. It doesn't have to be in a conduit. A lot of times they just do direct burial.
this is gonna, I'm gonna take the lead on this.
Yes,
So
okay, yep.
This is a little harder to kind of tell, but this photo on the left, do I have these backwards? No. Yeah, I do. Okay, fun. I can't tell left from right, but this photo right here, this is a pipe along the Warner property, and it is just past as you're going up Orchard towards Cherrywood Way. You can't really see it here, but this hole is about, I would say, a good 12 inches around,
yep.
and it's immediately off the road there. And if two cars were passing, somebody would hit that with their tire, it would be a blowout and there would be an accident. This is a blocked inlet. So when we found that, it needs to have a cast in place inlet box put in there. It's immediately off the road. If we pave, that's gonna tear up that road right under it. It needs to be,
What does it do? What does that pipe do?
well, we don't know where that, or is that the one,
Well, no,
that's the one that
that's-
lets out that
yeah.
he did a really nice, the Warners did their own nice little portion.
Little
to-
retaining, segmental retaining wall around the pipe on the downstream end, but, so, it's pretty clogged up on top, but if you look at the pipe down below, it flows. So, it's not blocked off. So what I would recommend is digging down, get back far enough that you could come in, put forms, because to try to put a precast in there, they're monstrous. Do some little, cast in place, 2x2 box.
What's the diameter of that pipe, Don?
I'm gonna say 15 or 18. I don't recall. I mean, it's
I know it predates PennDOT raising its spec.
Is that a
It's
riser
pro-
pipe for a line? Is that what that is? If it comes straight up?
no, it's just the pipes down below and it's sort of collapsed in.
Oh, okay.
So, at one point there may have been a head wall there, Ron, but I don't see one now.
Good segment.
Okay, there.
That's the outflow.
This is a different one.
This is a different one. This is near the Warner's property again. This is a head wall that was falling in. It looks like it was done pretty well, but it just is going to
It just needs repaired. It's about 18 inches off the road. It's not as bad as that other one, which is right on the edge of the pavement. And for this one, I'm just recommending get in there, dig around enough that you can rebuild the head wall. A cast in place inlet would even be better, but I mean, if we're looking at something quicker, and that can be done. Now, those type repairs could be done after paving. I mean, if you had to. Now, this one is a different story.
Sorry, you're in the picture.
Yeah, what's going on here?
I'm sorry, I was taking pictures. So there's a bunch of blocked inlets along the way. This is going to be hard. I'm going to try to blow this up. Wow, wrong photo. When I walked the property with the Warners, he showed me this. He said somewhere up his property on the left side as you're going towards Cherrywood Way, there's a blocked inlet. And I walked around there, couldn't find anything. He said somewhere around here. So went in and took a stick and started playing around, got some water to flow out. It's this two like stumps along the side. Called Don. Don came out with a hammer, did more work in there, got more water to flow. We think that's basically the location of this, and we couldn't find the inlet. That's the outlet to somewhere on the top side of the road. So Don and his trusty metal detector.
I got hits the whole way across the road, and if this is as old as I think it is, it would be a metal pipe. So it actually made sense this time to use the metal detector. But and you can see it's not a straight line across, but there was definitely something metallic under the road that went from one side to the other. Now, that side here, this is where it appeared that there could be an inlet. It's been clogged up for so long that it's not even soft in there. You can't feel like, okay, there was a hole here at one time. So this would be one I would think you would get an excavator in there, a little backhoe, and dig down and see if you can't find it. On the other side, dig back just about a foot or two, because I was getting a metal reading, but I think over the years people have been dumping stuff along the edge of the road, or the road just got pushed out, and I think the outlet's blocked.
Don, is this a pipe that goes across the road?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we think we were hitting, because we have that one photo. You can see there's green marks going across. They're not dead on straight line, but there was.
Orchard Road, right?
Yeah, and it's marked ready to go. So like where we thought the
Yes,
pipe would go.
it wouldn't take much to get in there with the backhoe and just dig back a little bit. I'd start at the bottom end and see if we hit a pipe there. Hopefully, maybe you can see up in it, but I'm going to guess it is full, and I don't know if it could be flushed out. It may
Probably
be
rusted.
and it may be rusted through. It'd be one that would be something we would want to do before we paved it.
How far up the road is that?
It's right before you hit Cherrywood Way. It's past the Warners. They're at
About
185.
3/4 of the way up,
3/4. Okay, so it's pretty far up
yeah,
before you get to the rougher road.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah, after 3/4 of the way up.
Yeah, you're a couple hundred feet up into I'll call it the woods. Now, if this is a project we just bid, if it gets awarded tonight, bonds and insurance, it's not like the contractor's going to want to be in here next week or the week after. And I think we could work with them a little bit to delay that. Okay, now we'll talk about the bond.
So where the Orchard Road meets State Route 550, there's two inlet boxes, and there's two grates there, and that's fine. But right in between them is this sanitary sewer lid, which we don't have sanitary sewer. And Dawn and I are not strong enough to lift that with our fingernails.
Okay.
I would bet anything that somebody had an old casting and they said, well, we need something, and here is a sanitary sewer manhole that will just fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is something when the road gets paved, there's a couple sinkholes, potholes on the bottom, patch them up, and then I would mill around that manhole. See, it's sitting up. It's about this high, and they've put some paving around it so the plow truck drivers don't go through the windshield. So it wouldn't be anything to get in there, mill that down to flush with the road, and then when you overlay it, it'll be perfect elevation. But if you look at the two inlets on either side and take a peek at the pipes going out of them, they're headed for that. It's a junction box.
Right. So we want to lower it and then put a new cap on it.
Just mill around it, and when you put your inch and a half on top, it'll be perfect. Yeah, Bob?
No, where does the water go from there? So
It
you've got
goes-
two grates that
yeah.
are meeting in the middle, and then
And
is
it
it
goes
like a
across-
holding tank?
It goes across 550. There's an outlet there.
Okay, there is an outlet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
That heads toward the stream then.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, we've got a hand up in the audience, please.
Yes, please.
My question, when you look at these drainage, I'm very familiar with the area because we have the farm adjacent to some of this land. And we had NRCS and Conservation District out. We have a lot of water coming off that ridge. And, you know, if we want to look at our water and the quality of our water, if we're going to look at doing repairs, we should be looking at doing repairs that when that water gets to the stream, it's as clean as possible. So my question is, does the township, when we're looking at these types of repairs, bring the Conservation District in or NRCS to have that lens, that provide that expertise and look at that? We just did this-
Typically we don't, but the purpose of the repairs usually is to prevent erosion. Like when I was talking earlier on Smith Road about how these swales are eroding out. We want to repair them so that there is no erosion, which would accomplish that. What you can do when you do inlet boxes is you set the bottom of the box lower than the pipe. So your pipe's here, but your box is down here. So any gravel and anti-skid gets in there, it'll fill up to that point, and then it needs to be cleaned out every couple of years. So the point is to try to keep all that stuff out of the streams.
You don't want sediment flow.
No, I know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm actually on the board for the Conservation District, and, you know, things that I'm learning, and because of the project that we have on our farm, we're in a high-quality watershed. We know
Yep,
that.
HQ.
And so there's been a lot of work in this township to preserve that water. And when we look at these kind of things, we don't want to make them worse.
Yeah.
And was curious if we engaged Conservation District or anything.
There's times I've had, you know, Jim Coslow or
Yep.
you know, Chris Myers or somebody come out to take a look at something. I don't know what's going on, but typically what we want to do is prevent erosion, use the right size stone, or like I said about the sod, that sod worked well, and it encourages infiltration. It's good like that, or we'll set bottom of boxes below the pipe so that stuff's going to get in it, gravel and anti-skid, it stays there, but they do need cleaned out. There's a maintenance with that. Any other questions?
Sounds like we got some work to do before we cut the paver loose.
Yeah. I think really the only thing that needs done is if that other pipe is totally clogged up, replacing it. I mean, if we don't have time to rebuild that inlet, that can be done after they pave.
Don, do we need to award the bid for the paving tonight, or can we put that off to the next meeting?
I'd say we board it tonight and then work with the contractor.
Now, which one is it?
HRI.
HRI.
Let me,
And that's for
are they first on the list?
Orchard and Doe, it says.
Yes, HRI.
Yeah, HRI was the low bid.
Right.
Now, I guess we gotta go back to talking about your driveway.
You like talking about driveways?
That's better than talking about broken inlets, and have sanitary on them. The one thing I'd point out is the water starts out all right along that swale, and then the swale gets lost, basically. It looks like at one time they had cut the edge of the road, they had cut the shoulders out, which is pretty much all you can do. But with your driveway, it comes down, and I don't know if we could pull that low spot back. You know, if you get it too close to the edge of the road just sitting up a little bit too high, then you're gonna be mad because it's gonna be a big dip.
Well, it's gotten, the drainage has gotten worse over the years, because a number of years ago, they put like a gravel top coat or whatever you call it on top of the road, and then they graded the sides a couple years
Yeah,
after
they-
that.
yeah, it looks like
So
you get
each
that.
of those things has added to the issue.
Well, and I think another thing that's added to the issue is the fact that these inlets up above Darius, they're not getting the water, so you're getting a lot of water. So once we would correct those couple inlets, you might see that go down quite a bit. But the one thing I wanted to mention is, like I said early on, when I showed that how those contours go, that water's wanting to go away from the road. Now, if we can get it so it goes past your driveway before it starts to mosey that way, will that work?
Well, there's another, like, if you look at the contour though, if it gets past our driveway, there's another area where it dips down before it gets to what's now the Denalo's driveway, cause it kinda goes uphill there. There's a power, pole down there past their driveway as well. Right at the corner of our property is a power line, and then you've got the Denalo's driveway as you go towards 550. And then there's another power line, so that kinda goes uphill there too.
Yes,
But on the other side of Orchard Road, it doesn't have quite that uphill, so that does flow pretty well on the other side of Orchard Road. But on our side, it's kind of up and down.
that's a good one.
Don, what's the possibility of putting a pipe underneath that road at the low spot and throwing it, I know there's a ditch on the left-hand side when you're going up the hill.
Yeah, if you put a pipe across there, where that swale is, that would be helpful, because
Just throw it.
Yeah,
you
that,
don't have as much
and
water
that
going
could
down
work.
to go nowhere.
Well, you have to look at it.
And then somebody down here
Yeah.
will say, I never had water before.
Yep.
Ever
They
since you
do
put
have
that
water.
pipe.
Well, they have a lot of water on that side of the road.
No, I'm sort of semi-joking, because whenever you move water from one side of the road to the other,
So, Don, what's the goal is to make the water flow down along the road, is that correct?
well,
And
if,
keep it out of their,
if having it sheet flow like along that drainage area, if it doesn't impact anybody, that's even better, because then you're getting a lot more infiltration. I mean, you want it to flow and infiltrate as much as possible, and a lot of times you'll see the roads, when it's sitting up, it just sheet flows away. And as long as it's sheet flowing, you're only getting the water in front of your house, that's not a big deal.
right.
But when you're getting water halfway up the mountain, then that becomes a big deal. So I'm thinking if we would be able to get those two inlets opened up, they're pulling a lot of water away.
Okay.
But if we would want to do what you're thinking of, Dave.
I'm not saying we have to, I
No.
just think it's something we ought to look at.
Yes.
The
I
difference
agree.
here is, those three houses and that Darius Lane wasn't there when those other things were put in, so even if you clean them up, the issue is that Darius Lane and the way the water comes down.
So, yeah, I don't know, does Darius, does you get much water down the ditch that's on?
Right there where that pole is,
You mean above it?
Yeah, usually what happens is, to be fair to the neighbors.
On the upside of Darius, is that what
Yeah,
you're
right
talking
there.
about? No, there's not much water there
I
at all.
didn't think so, because it looks
It
to me
washes
like
down the road.
Darius wants to, if that sheet flows into that field, that's great.
No, it comes down the road and then they have to clean their rocks off the road every year.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it
comes
runs
down their
down the
road
road.
and then onto our property. It never goes in that ditch.
Okay. Now,
I
do you
don't know
get
why the
any
ditch is there.
water off of your gravel riding area? Is that giving you any problems?
The grout, no, but we put it up because it was such a swampland
Okay.
before that we had to go up with it.
Is
But it comes off of Darius, yeah, and it just, you can see where it pools and it's like a
Yeah.
swamp there.
Is Darius sloped towards your place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, there's two
wonder if it always
two or
was.
three culverts under Darius that
There's
come
at
onto
least two
our.
that
Oh,
kinda
okay, so
cross
well.
it does have,
That's what I'm saying.
okay, I
That
didn't,
wasn't there before, so, you know.
Yeah. But everything that comes, cause Darius kinda slopes towards our property and then towards Orchard Road.
Yeah.
So it comes down Darius and then hits the corner and then comes in, like, and follows basically that snow path that you see, and then lands in the cesspool,
Private road though,
and then down to our driveway.
I would say if we could look at putting another pipe under, on the other side, that ditch is only about that deep though.
Yeah, I know. It probably have to be cleaned out.
Yeah,
to the level.
either that or a small diameter pipe, and that sometimes gets even more problematic. But if you try to put an 18-inch
Yeah, you don't have clearance.
and you have a foot of cover on it, and all of a sudden we're gonna have this big hole. I think, need to take a look at it again and see what we
If you
can
come
do.
out again, I mean, you
Yeah.
guys have my contact number, so
Okay.
give me a shout.
So two things with this. This would be ARPA money eligible. We can do drainage. And then the bid, when we looked at our work plan for the year, this is not, we talked to the one contractor, they asked questions, and we have this not scheduled until, sorry, give me 1 second here. This is scheduled to happen July, end of July for the actual paving for Orchard Road. And then they have until the school buses start again, so I think we were looking at.
I think the cutoff was August
Like late,
20th
mid-August,
or
yeah.
something, 'cause it's,
For the paving for Orchard Road, that, for the bid that's out, are they looking at, are they gonna, like, grade it, cut it off and, or are they
No,
just going over top of it?
basically, they're gonna put a layer of fiber mat down, it's called an interlayer, that gives it a lot of flexibility, and then put an 1.5-inch top on it and crown it a little bit better with that 1.5 inch.
So everything's going on top of what's currently there?
Yeah, no,
They're
there's
not
no,
cutting it down.
now the shoulders then get backed up with 2RC, which is a,
Quarter foot.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Compacting type of stuff.
Yeah. It should knit in pretty tight.
So I got a, this bid proposal includes Doe Drive. Were you gonna talk about
I can.
what we were doing with Doe?
Yes, it'll be the same thing. It'll be a layer of this fiber mat, and then right on top of it, an 1.5 inch top. Now, Doe was one of the roads that, as I mentioned earlier, we had done the sod. And the shoulders are still, the trouble with Doe, the big problem we had with it before we did this project is the shoulders keep getting built up and they get higher than your edge of road.
Right.
And when the water can't sheet flow off the road into a ditch or a pipe system, it goes down the edge of the road. And you get all this erosion right along the edge of the road. So we put this sod in, and right now it's fairly flush with the, in some places it's actually still a little bit higher because there's a nice thick sod. So when we put that 1.5 inch on top, it's going to sheet flow really nice.
Okay. And the Doe Drive, what part of Doe Drive? Is it the whole road?
Yeah, up to the cul-de-sac from
Okay,
Buckhorn.
okay.
In the, so, I believe, is this the right spot?
Yep.
Yeah, this right here, this is this,
Right.
the
That's
grass swale along Doe.
And then I should also mention, in each driveway, the worst part is these, your pipe is sitting low, and then the water gets going fast through the pipe, and you always get erosion below the pipe. So there we actually put some concrete down and then put a smaller stone in that's not as obtrusive as the bigger stone, but it's knitted into the concrete. So it comes out of the pipe going fast, it hits this stone, it gets slowed down, it spreads out into the swale, so it is really holding up well.
Okay. All right.
For clarification, the bids that went out are for the actual asphalt paving and associated things. This is not to fix swales
No.
or anything.
No, this is a overlay project, and the shoulders get put back in after it gets overlaid.
You don't have as much of a drainage problem on Doe as you do up on Orchard.
Well, not now. We
We fixed that.
yeah, no, but after some storms here the last few years, particularly the upper part of Doe, it was a mess. And it was a case where the stone wasn't big enough to hold it, and it would just go all over the place. I mean, that was the goal, was to get a good solid sod in there that would withstand any velocity.
I like
If I may, I'd like to motion that the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors accepts the bid from HRI for the repaving of Doe Drive and Orchard Road. The bid being for $128,628.50.
Does both roads, correct?
that motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion by the board members?
I think we need to figure out how to fix this drainage issue before we start, before these guys get started. We need to let them know that, as stated earlier, we don't want them to start tomorrow. We've got some work to do beforehand.
I guess it's scheduled for July, right now. So we could do something before July.
Yeah, they'll be
Can we
good
get
to work
we
with.
need to get
I
a
know this
price.
is-
I mean,
yeah.
I know if we
Get
drop
an
pipes
idea.
in, we definitely want to get it excavated, put back in, allow it to settle, because otherwise we'll just have a dip in the road where the pipes were. We don't do it early.
So we get a, do we need to get a price?
Well, depends on how much it costs. So,
Well,
You can authorize the engineer to evaluate the scope of work and create bid specs, and then we can do an advertisement at another meeting. If you can,
What's the threshold for a single quote? I can't remember.
telephonic is, I believe, 10.3, and we're at, I think, 21.5, 21
we'll be able to do it
something.
for a lot less than 21,000.
Yeah, and I would think if we're talking two pipes.
okay, well,
2 pipes and some ditching work,
Yeah.
maybe.
get it done. That's what I say.
All right. Call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Now,
Thanks for your presentation, Don. It's a
Oh,
lot of
thank you.
information. Thank you
You want
for
me to
putting that
talk
all
to you?
together.
we,
Need to be here while you talk
we want to
about
authorize
that.
the engineer to get out there in the next couple of days to
No.
sort of finalize the solution and come back to the next board meeting so we can
Okay.
get the backhoe set up or the ditching work set up.
I believe we need a motion for that.
Well, somebody want to make one?
I'll move that we have the evaluation completed by the engineer to get a bid specs, and get a price so we can move forward.
Hopefully, it's under the actual
Under the
formal bid
threshold.
process, and we can just get
Yes.
3 quotes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second with Chuck. Any other discussion on that matter? All right, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, 4-0. Thanks, Don.
Can we also talk about the description for the Roadmaster, or do you want to hold off on that?
I'd like to
I
hold off
would
on.
love to do that.
Well, it's 8:20 now, and I think we got some other things to hit.
Okay?
Not that I want to write it off, but
Well, not that I want to run off.
Okay, that's old business.
Anything else?
I don't see anything else on the agenda here that would pertain to
I
you.
don't think so.
Okay,
Well, thank you all.
thank
All right,
you.
Thanks for
Tom.
coming in. Okay, we're back up here. Gonna go up to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do we have anything for tonight? Nothing on tonight's agenda. Well, Bob, you want to do it after citizens' comments or before?
I would like to read this really quick before
All right.
citizens' comments.
Please go ahead.
I have 4 public apologies I need to issue. The first being an apology to our former township manager, Susan Steele. During our February 24th meeting, I made an off-the-cuff remark that disparaged her and her accomplishments during her tenure as Halfmoon Township manager. And for this, Susan Steele, you have my sincere apology. The second, I'd like to issue an apology to the resident Jim Shore, who came to our meeting on March 10th with his concerns as to why his road was not plowed. Sir, you were deserving of an apology from the board then and there, yet this board remained silent at the time. For that, I'd like to apologize to you for both not getting the road plowed, and apologize to you for not issuing the apology at that time. I'd also like to thank you for plowing the road so that your neighbors could safely access their homes. Third, I'd like to apologize to my fellow board members, staff, and all the residents at times raising my voice in an unprofessional manner during our previous several meetings. For this, I apologize to you, and I strive that I will do better. And lastly, I'd like to apologize directly to Ms. Gambuzia for the ill treatment you've received by some of the members of this board, as well as a few members of this community. And I truly am sorry that you've had to experience this. And I yield back. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, good.
Going to go to citizens' comments for non-agenda items. Are there any citizens' comments for non-agenda items? Anyone?
I have one question.
Sure.
Is there a time we're supposed to be out of this building? Because I've heard reference at least on 3 occasions about wanting to end when the business isn't done. So I'm confused. I thought the job was to finish the business of the agenda each time.
Well, it's not necessarily the case. What happens is it gets later and later, tempers flare, people get irritable, and some of us have to get up early in the morning and go to work.
So many of us do. I
I'm
would
sure
agree
you
with
do.
on that.
And I don't think it's really fair to the citizens or the members of this board or anybody else to be sitting in here till 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Well, then I wonder if we should be thinking about how to rectify it so we don't have to keep doing that. Maybe you have an extra meeting or 2 a month. Because things keep getting pushed off, and it feels like we're just gonna be
Well,
behind the 8 ball.
there's things on the agenda that we have to take care of, such as paying the bills, and there are things on the agenda that we can discuss. And this board needs to have a work session, because we need to talk about the Roadmaster's job, and we need to talk about some other things and where this township's going in the next couple of years. But we can't have a regular meeting and do that. I mean, we can have a regular meeting, but we have to, sit down as a board and just fixate on the items that need to be taken care of.
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I'd like to piggyback on that and say, as a community member, I'd love a time limit on the meeting. Because like the rest of you probably, I have to get up and.
You get up at 6 a.m. too, huh?
Yeah. I'd love to see a time limit.
All right, well,
Oh, I have a comment, because at the last meeting, you were the one, Dave, who said you needed to leave,
I
but you were
did.
also the last one in the building.
yep.
So, I see us pushing conversations that we need to have down the road, because you were saying, I don't wanna talk about this, because you were getting irritated, but you were also the last one in the building.
That's
You
my
stood-
prerogative.
Right, but what about, we need to have a roadmaster,
Yes, we do.
so why aren't we talking about it?
Well, we're gonna hire a roadmaster. We had a roadmaster, we don't have a roadmaster now.
Right, and you were the one who, in your first meeting,
All right,
you said that you did not want to approve the roadmaster.
there were some issues with the former township manager, and there were 2 newly elected supervisors. I was one, and Mr. Beck was one.
Right,
And we wanted to bring an issue forward to discuss with the attorney in executive session. And in order to get the attention of the other 3 board members, that's why we did that. It's not that we wanted to fire anybody, it's just that we were being ignored completely. And sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Now, unfortunately, the former manager is gone. Well, that may be a fortunate thing. But there were issues that needed to be taken care of and were not taken care of, and we could not get the attorney at the meeting. When I asked the attorney to be at the meeting, we were stonewalled. Now, sometimes, and I'm not gonna go into it, because here again, it's personnel. But sometimes when you try to do stuff, and you're just being outvoted or glossed over, Chuck and I felt that we got elected because there were problems, and we wanted to talk about those problems. And I know you're not gonna understand because you're sitting out there in the audience, but we had more information than you had, and I can't go into it. I'm not going to go into it, we'll put it that way.
Mr. Chair, I'm just gonna chime in here, and I'm gonna say that I think that's kind of disingenuous, because that was your very first meeting. That was the reorganizational meeting of the year 2020. So I don't know how you can make the claim that your concerns were being ignored when that was your very first meeting with this
Mr.
board.
Strauss, I had a meeting with 2 of the other board members prior to taking this seat, and we talked about some things, and it didn't go anywhere. Now, I'm not gonna get into it tonight. I don't, if you wanna have this conversation with me at some other time, that's fine. I don't think that I wanna get into a big argument tonight. Everybody's getting along this evening. We'd like to continue forward and do what we gotta do.
But I think this is the type of conversation that needs to be held in the public sphere. The taxpayers deserve to know what is going on. And you and I having a conversation behind closed doors, or Chuck and I, or Ron and I, or you and Chuck, or whatever combination, that's inappropriate.
Don't,
May I have the floor?
sure, please.
All right, I beg to differ. This talking in groups of 3 or more about policy matters, about deliberations isn't appropriate. However, all at the same time, but having discussions occasionally with fellow board members to discuss ideas and things like that, I don't find that inappropriate.
No, that's not what I meant.
It's certainly not illegal.
What I meant was, these are questions being posed by the taxpayers right now.
I appreciate
So we
that.
should have a conversation answering their questions and clarifying
I
things.
appreciate that, Bob. I want to finish what I was saying. We do have to hire a roadmaster, okay? But there was a discussion point about whether it's a roadmaster or something else. We don't have a roadmaster. That's my main concern right now. Okay, me personally, as a member of the board. I think we do have to hire a roadmaster. We need to do it fairly soon. Okay, I know people are concerned about not having a public works crew. We need to take care of that too. The jobs for the public works laborers has been posted. I don't know yet the status of applications coming in. I'm sure we'll find that out. We'll have to make selections. We'll have to hire people. My one concern about that is without an experienced roadmaster, you don't have anybody to train those people. I've thought about this all week this week. How do we get these people trained? What relationships or what services can we borrow or buy from fellow townships to have their roadmaster, for example, train some of our people? Just different ideas that we can come up with to solve the problem. We do have a problem and we have to solve it. Okay. So I'm not sure that what we have here in the agenda is a discussion of whether we hire a roadmaster or if we create another position instead of a roadmaster or hire both of them. I mean, that's a big decision. Okay, I feel, me personally, I want a roadmaster. That's what I want. That's what I'll vote for. So that's my opinion on the matter. It's not being ignored. It is very important, and it's time critical too. So I'm certainly sensitive to that. So I yield the floor to that.
Mr. Chair, there's a, yeah.
Yes. I just want to first thank you for being transparent.
I'm sorry, we need to have folks who are speaking come up so you
Yeah,
can
state
be on
your
the
name and
microphone,
your-
state
and
your
your
name.
Sorry, the
and-
fire guys were
Not
sitting here and
necessarily,
I
it doesn't
just,
have to be your address, but
Well,
just,
state your name.
Yeah.
You're a resident, right?
yeah.
Okay.
just- you're a
Yes.
resident.
I'm a resident since 2017. My name's Jenny Lynn Valajero. I live up in Centennial Hills. And first, I would just like to thank you for transparency in how you stand on something. I feel like as a community member, that the questions that we're asking you are pretty straightforward. Like, what is your thought process even? I mean, we're not asking you to give us, like, for instance, tonight, like trying to vote for something, to actually vote on a roadmaster. And you're saying it's very important, and I agree, it's very important. We all want a roadmaster. But what is it? Like March 24th? And he's been gone since when? So, like, what discussions what has made more priority than that, if that is so important to us? But we don't understand that because there's no transparency. And I'm telling you this as a person, like, I can differ ideologies, but I cannot respect someone who represents me who won't tell me something transparently. I don't know what half the members of the board stand for. They don't want to tell us what they stand for. It's like a wait and see. I can't wait and see. Just tell us. And then we can decide, like, okay, that's where we're going. We voted for you. All right? I yield to that. But I just want to know that there's some thoughts going on and planning happening that's taking care of the people of this township. Thank you.
It might be past 9 o'clock.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh, I said it might be past 9 o'clock.
It might be.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else? So we can get this agenda wrapped up. Yes, please.
Concerning how late the meetings are going, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, pardon?
If you have a lot to say, if it's just a one
I don't
word
have a
thing.
whole lot to say, but as far as I know, the meetings used to start at 6. Is there any reason we can't go back to starting at 6?
They've always started at 7 as far as I knew, but
Well, I went,
It may have, in years ago, it may have been 6, but I've been on the board for 4.5 years and it's been 7.
I thought in the meeting minutes, it was actually moved to 7 based on.
A meeting here and there has been bumped up.
Okay,
because
we
knew
could
it was
it
a
not
full
planning
agenda.
commission
consistently-
meets at a different time.
Can it not consistently meet at 6?
That's been proposed.
Just a thought.
We'll take it under consideration.
Sure. And I would echo the transparency issue of, like, we just want to know, what is your plan? Like, we haven't heard anything, and it's just kicking the can, every meeting
Well,
kicking
my
the can.
plan is to lower taxes, pay off the debt, and get the roads fixed up.
But how? I mean, those are
Well,
sound bites, but we've
It's not
we've
a
heard no
sound bite,
plan.
it's
We've-
Well, there's where the
haven't heard
meat,
any
that's where the
plans.
meat comes in.
Right,
And that's where you have to do a lot of work.
right. I agree.
But no matter,
Thank you.
well, I'm trying to tell you as best I can. Did we
Okay.
want to cover, are we moving,
Well, I was
We're
gonna
gonna
do the,
are we going to approve the agenda?
yeah.
Okay.
Hey guys, hang on. You guys are forgetting about Zoom.
Whoa,
Didn't even know Zoom was on.
I can't.
If you guys can hang on, you're forgetting about that are attending.
Okay.
And I apologize if internet's bad because we live in a rural area and our only option is Windstream.
My condolences.
So I have to agree with Mr. Strauss. I think there are some apologies that are needed. And Mr. Savello, I think you are in the wrong as an executive officer, CEO for an organization. Your duties to serving on the board are duties of fiduciary duties, duties of loyalty, and I'm not seeing those. You all have gone against those duties. You all are not thinking about what's best for your members or
Not sure I'm,
You cut out. You can hear us.
your manager meeting. Don't look at your watch. We have municipality managers meetings and county rep meetings, legislative meetings, and Denise has attended every single one of them and been outstanding. Not one of your not one of your managers has ever attended before.
Not attended what?
Just so you know, we lost about 20 seconds of what you were saying in the middle there. Windstream failed you. Zoom failed you.
Did you put it in the chat? I think that would be
I prefer to stay out of the chat.
All right, let's approve the consent agenda here, or the agenda. Move to approve the agenda excluding the things that we've already talked about.
I'll second.
Discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay, subdivision land development plans or conditional uses in public hearings. Halfmoon Acres preliminary subdivision plan. Plan expires April the 1st. 30-day time extension has been received. Do we want to grant that extension?
And I think they are actually granting us that extension.
Well, they are,
And
but-
we need to accept it. I move that we accept the 30-day time extension that will move the expiration date out to May 1st, 2022.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Bob?
Aye, sorry.
Aye. Approved. Dawn Hatch subdivision, no update. Applicant,
Is there something?
He's back. We're working with him, so that will be on your next agenda.
okay. All right, approval of the minutes for February 24th and March 10th. We can do them both at the same time if everybody's okay with that.
I read them.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from February 24th, 2022 and March 10th, 2022 of the Board of Supervisors meetings.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Ron or Chuck?
Aye.
Okay. Ron seconded. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Approved, unanimous. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A motion is second. Any questions, discussions, concerns?
I would like to highlight the items in the consent agenda. First and foremost, this covers the paying the bills from the general fund in the amount of $5,225.74. The Park and Recreation Fund in the amount of $5,999.24, and the State Highway Liquid Fuels Fund in the amount of $2,760.85. I'd also like to include that this consent agenda includes the Center Region Building and Housing Code Board of Appeals reappointments of Ryan Solnoski and Alan Popovich. This is through the Center Region Council of Governments Codes Office. So that would be included in the consent agenda. And we have a appointment of David Neal Pick to the Halfmoon Township Planning Commission. His term would expire December 31st, 2025. And we also need to acknowledge the resignation of our current manager, Denise Gambuzia, effective March 31st, 2022.
Okay. Motion's been moved and seconded. Anything else by the board? All right, let's call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Approved. Okay, old business. Board discussion ranking each member's priority matrix for the 2021 to 2026 and the historical information regarding priorities in the 2022 work plan calendar.
I can say that I did work on this stuff. I'm not done yet, but I did do some work on it. Rankings, the items on the list, I mean, I think are all important items. And I just haven't had time to rank them. I did write down some priorities of my own, but I want to provide more details of those priorities, which I could turn in any time. So,
Would
but
the board like to table the issue to the next meeting or the following meeting? Maybe we could have a work session. Anyone? Chuck says yes.
I don't see why not. It's not pushing, right?
Right.
But I do think we need to have a work session to discuss these priorities and rank them. That's what's being asked for, and we need to do it.
Second meeting of April?
We have regular meetings, can we have a work session? Where
We can
actually
make it a
sit
work
down
session.
And, you know, soon, and work out this stuff?
Yep.
Come to, you know, make some decisions and take some actions to get things done.
Second meeting of April. Just make it a work session. Just clear the schedule for the work session items. Bob?
I would just like to point out that this 21 through 26 strategic plan was already completed.
Yep.
And I feel that it is a waste of this board's time to reopen it and try to reorganize plans that were made strategically with the help of professionals. And
Well, Bob, I don't
if
disagree.
you guys want to have a conversation about it, you can, but again, I think that we have other priorities that we really need to get to, and that, anyway, I
Well,
yield
we
back.
just had Paul's Lane come up tonight, it was completely omitted, and obviously that's something that needs to be added back into the 2022 to 2026 plan.
That's valid.
I mean, I think I know what you're saying. The hiring decisions, getting the people on board, that's a high priority. I was looking at this, I'm confused because I thought we were gonna rank this in order to take action on these things. I know this ties into the strategic plan. So if there are line items in the strategic plan that we're supposed to be doing this year, then that's something we need to proceed with, or plan, I don't know exactly how we go about doing that.
Well, our staff has been doing the line items that were in the strategic plan for this year.
Okay.
So,
And I want to make sure that that continues, obviously, but we have some other high priorities too.
Work sessions
Am I-
are open to the public, everyone, so.
Am I missing something?
what we're missing here is the fact that after the 31st, other than Amy and Brett, who already have jobs, we have no staff. So we can reorganize any priorities we want, but without someone to follow through on these things, I don't feel that even having the discussion is a good use of this board's time.
We need to take actions.
Yes, we do. Indeed, we do.
Well, that sometimes requires discussion. In all honesty, I mean, I've spent all week studying these issues. I honestly did. I worked hard on it all week, all weekend, just looking at all these things that we have to, and the other issues that we're dealing with. The process that we had set up. In all honesty, I've been working very hard at it. Things changed just a couple days ago. So, that threw me a curve personally. And I want to do whatever I can to help move forward the priorities. I'm willing to work with anybody to do it.
Okay.
That's all I can do, Bob.
So if we're going to have a work session, how about we prioritize and have that work session about how we're going to advertise for a new manager and how we're going to advertise for a roadmaster and get these positions filled. And before we can even do those things, we at least have to look at the roadmaster and manager job descriptions to make sure that they are properly up to date.
Absolutely.
And our salary schedule is competitive. And again, I just think we really need to focus on what is important right now. And that number one priority is staff. Because without our
agree.
staff, we can't get anything done.
I agree.
That's all I have to say about it.
Okay, you had a comment?
Well, no, I have a question, because
Question.
I was looking at, you said, and I appreciate the fact that you have looked at this all this week, and I'm worried because we have, grants due. If we want to apply for road grants through, I think it's the ARPA money, and I'm not exactly sure, that grants have to be applied for by the end of June.
Right.
And you and Bob are the only two members of the board who apparently use computers. And the grant application is done online. We won't have staff. Who's going to do it? I mean, this is, at the last meeting, I did say, what's the plan? And you, Chuck, said, wait and see. Well, what is the plan?
And applying for grants, pursuing grants is something that Denise and I just talked about the other day. And it's something I do intend to pursue.
Because she won't be here.
I understand that.
And I'm just
That
worried.
means when I say I'm pursuing it, that means I'm
you're doing it,
applying.
which I appreciate. Thank
Now,
you.
it will take a board action to allow me to do that, probably. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't get any resistance to it. And I may need some assistance too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried because I don't know, like, Dave, you don't use a computer. Chuck, you don't use a computer. And so.
I use one, I just don't use it for gabbing back and forth on TikTok or whatever it is.
No, I'm not.
I can program computers, would you like to try
Right,
it?
but where is the computer? Like, how do you follow? I'm just, like, you're sitting there without a computer and all this stuff. When I read the minutes and all the links.
I read them.
Okay.
I get a hard copy.
These are links.
You can print them out.
Can I just say,
I'm sorry.
you're a victim of your own circumstances now. You got what you wanted, which was the township manager's fee. Now, we're in a real predicament here.
I think to make a statement like that, and a generalization like that, I don't think is fair. Okay, and I think, well, I think.
Of your own circumstances. We are all a victim now of your circumstances. I don't know how you think this is all gonna.
It's very
be
possible that
okay.
we didn't create the circumstance.
It's very possible that you did.
Yeah, well, I don't think so, but
We'll never know, because there's no transparency, so we'll never know.
may not, but you
Well,
might.
we're sitting in a room being recorded by CNET, and everybody's invited to attend, and I've seen some pretty lively discussions that I think at times went overboard. And so I don't know how we're not being transparent. To sit behind the table and to listen to some of the comments, I don't know how, and we listen, and we listen, consider, at least I think we do, and, we're trying to do our best.
Well, I just think we're in a real pickle now. And it's not just you as the supervisors, it's us as the residents. And why would you not hire a roadmaster before you hire a road crew? I mean, that doesn't even make logical sense to me.
Well, frankly, to be honest with you, I couldn't answer that question either. I won't be able to.
I don't understand why you're proceeding with hiring a road crew, thinking that you'll ask other townships to come and help train them. Why not hire
Well,
a roadmaster?
because I
Have them
believe,
train?
Because I believe the way it transpired over time was that the Public Works full-time person resigned. The part-time person died. They were missing first, and we still had a roadmaster at the time who has subsequently resigned. So that leaves us without a roadmaster. And my concern about that is that you don't have a roadmaster to train the crew. Okay, I understand that dilemma. All right? So, yes, it's a problem. And it's a problem that we have to address.
So you
And
said you
the-
already have the road crew advertised.
Well, actually, it's a second posting.
It was advertised when Mike Coakley left. And nobody ever brought forward a resume and said, these are the guys.
Or gals.
Or gals. Anybody
Whoever.
wants to swing a shovel and has a CDL and wants to do this, I mean, you're more than welcome to put an application.
So are you saying we had no applications for Mike's position when that was posted?
It was 40, was it 40 something? I believe.
Oh, we did have that
And there-
many applications
and there-
and we
there
weren't able
was-
to hire anybody?
Denise, would you care to chime in on the?
Go ahead.
In one of the reports that I had for the board, we did have a bunch of applications. The job was offered to 2 people. It was turned down by 2 people as well.
So it's currently posted for a second.
Yes, in the back there.
And I appreciate you actually speaking to us at these meetings because, I mean, I haven't been involved in local politics until recently and there hasn't been a lot of communication. There's been a lot of wait and sees. So this is the first meeting I actually feel like there might be something to grab onto. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And, you know, it's just sad that like the Roadmaster ad has been on the agenda to be approved since February 24th. It just gets tabled and tabled. And I don't know, this discussion should have happened a month ago. So that's disappointing.
You satisfied with the Roadmaster position?
I think we need to hire a roadmaster.
Well, make the motion.
Well, okay, I move that we post the position of roadmaster.
Do I hear a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion by the board?
So what job description are we using?
There is a job description currently, is there not?
There's one from 2010. Dawn was supposed to, we wanted to have a discussion with the board about the possibility of updating that so that we would get quality applicants.
Well, let's get the ad out there and see who shows up.
Do we need to review the job description?
We can do that in the meantime. Since you're in the middle of a review, I'll let you report that.
So I'm in the middle of a review.
You're reviewing the employee personnel stuff, policies, the job description.
Now, I completed that review. But I want to see what we have currently. And, you know, it's probably,
Yes, please.
We could talk to our colleagues in other townships. I bet you they got a more current job description. I can't imagine that the description would be much different for the roadmaster in our township. And that might help
it
expedite.
would instruct us, and we can compare that to what we have, see where, maybe there's things there that we may not need, but it is something to work with.
Yeah, it'd be a
And
straw
I
dog.
had thought about that myself.
It'd be a straw dog. It'd be a starting point. You wouldn't have to start from a blank piece of paper and expedite the process.
I agree with Ginger, and I mean, the reality is that to update the job description, a couple people around the table, in a matter of hours, you've got it done. So it doesn't take
That's
that
right.
long, so I think
But I
for
think we
best
need to do it.
representation on our township, it needs to be done
We need
and
to do
out
it timely,
ASAP.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't take a week.
I'm amenable to doing that.
Yeah.
Well, we got a motion and a second to get that out there.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I would rather move that we meet soon, very soon, to hash out the job description for the Roadmaster before we post it. And then we post the proper description.
You want to do the review and have it back at the next meeting? I hate to dump it on you, Ron, but you have the experience with this stuff, and you are a PE.
I could, I can take that, but, Chuck, do you want to be involved with that? Bob, do you want to be involved
Have a lot
with
of
that?
time to do it, but, I mean, if you're gonna sit down soon here and hash things out, yeah, let's get to it.
I mean, I can make calls tomorrow and I can get information from COG as well. And
Denise had one.
I have the information from all the,
you have it already.
Yes.
That's what we talked about the other day, right? Briefly. I think we did. We were talking, I said I had the old one, but I didn't have the revised. You had been working on a revision, and I didn't have that yet.
I provided you with the old ones and the revision.
Oh, did
You were
you?
in the other day and you were here for 3 hours and
Right.
reviewed everything. From the personnel
the
files.
Files,
and-
yes, but did you give me that day?
I gave it to you before then,
Okay, so I have it electronically?
yes.
All right, I'll find it.
I'd like to point out that this would be why it's been on the agenda for 3 or 4 meetings in a row, because all of this information has been readily available via the agenda every meeting, and we just keep tabling it.
Because it's after 9.
Okay, folks. I made a motion. I'm back to you.
Do you want to repeat that motion?
I move that I take the actions to compile the information for the job description. We can then review it and and take the action to get it posted.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions? Concerns? Bob? All right, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, approved. All right. There's no update on the Patton Township zoning officer?
Zach provided the redlined version. It went over to Patton Township and we're waiting for their solicitor to review.
Okay.
We seem to be jumping around the agenda
I
because of the
just
topic, so.
asking a question.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just wanted to point out that I believe we are on,
B?
B, possible sale of Epson projectors.
And I saw
It's under
the,
old business, part B.
5B.
Second page, back quarter way down.
Because Don Franson went over the road stuff earlier on, so we get him out. What are the Epson projectors worth?
Well, according to the memo linked in the agenda,
that's what I was looking for.
I guess
two
I could-
projectors would cost the township, or they cost the township $2,042.54.
Right. But it's outdated material and it's less than a couple $100.
Technically, yeah, but it's
Exactly.
not, worthless, useless, and they are in very good shape. So, State College Borough IT has offered us $1,100 for them, which is about half of the original purchase price from, I guess it was like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But there, if I remember correctly, there is the possibility that we would end up benefiting with that machine back. Denise, could you elaborate?
So In the memo, it basically just says, they were originally purchased for about $2,000.
Yeah.
For both. I looked up the value, and I could find, the cheapest I could find was about $750 each. The borough has offered to buy them because Harris Township would like one, and then the borough would like to have the other as like a parts one. They will come in and do the removal. We don't have to worry about pulling them down.
Right, that was it. I'm sorry. I got my issues back.
So the board should consider whether or not they want to sell this to State College Borough IT. I will offer that because this has been put back so much, I don't know if this is something that
Still
they
on the
still,
table.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Do I hear a motion to sell it to State College Borough IT for whatever, $1,000 or $750
Well, it's 1,100, right?
or $1,100?
For two of them,
We had so many numbers running around here.
because we just
It's an
discussed.
intermunicipal thing, so we don't have to put it out for bid.
Well, I think it's a good idea to sell them. If they're still interested in them, I think it's a good idea to sell them to them. They take responsibility for them. I think that,
It's worth
you know,
its weight.
50% after a number of years, that's significant residual value. So
That's what I thought.
I move that we sell these projectors as it's been proposed to State College Borough.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. I'd like to give a little back history on it. What we're discussing here is the two projectors from the other conference room in this building. That was originally our meeting room, and we put those to use for probably a good whopping 6 months before COVID happened. And then the decision was made that we would start using this room for our meetings because at the time we could spread out more. And we just kind of managed to stay over here, and now we are discussing or trying to move our administrative offices from the office next door to Brothers Pizza into that suite on the other side, so those projectors would not be needed any longer. And we went and bought this wonderful display that seems to be doing the job for us. So I think it's a good move to let these two wonderful pieces of technology go. But, you know, we're not putting them to use, so let's put that money back in the budget.
All right, let's call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0, approved. Discussion regarding protocol, or public meeting protocol and policy. Draft resolution, PSATS is next, so.
I've read these thorough, I've read this particular resolution like 5 times. There's a little, I'd like it to be a little more flexible with regard to when you can do public comments, but I think it's covered, and I think this is something that Zach prepared. Is he attending tonight by Zoom? Okay.
Yes, Ron, I'm here if
Are
you'd
you-
like me to.
Yeah, just briefly, I mean, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, so, and I think I referenced at a previous meeting, this is essentially a template of sorts that Denise had asked me to put together something that just addressed a number of issues, public comment, procedures for public comment, who can speak, how long they can speak, potentially when during the meeting they can speak. It references how work sessions and committee meetings are to be handled. It references generally the conduct of the meeting for supervisors and for the public. For instance, it references Robert's rules, which is generally the standard sort of parliamentary procedural rules that most legislative bodies or bodies of elected officials will follow. It references the use of recording devices, the procedures that should be followed by folks that are using those, and just things of that nature. And again, what I want to reference is it's largely at this point just a template that was prepared to give you something to review.
Zach, you just cut out.
The internet. Sorry, Zach, we can't hear you.
this drafted and presented to Denise as a sort of a jumping off point for you, and if there's any comments or suggested edits.
I'm sorry, Zach, I'm gonna interrupt you only because we lost about 20 minutes or 20 seconds of audio there. My apologies.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to back up a little bit.
It's been going in and out for
Yeah.
me hearing it as well. I don't know where I left off, but basically the gist of my comments were that it's designed to cover a number of procedural and meeting questions, conduct questions, and what I provided is essentially just a template. So if there's any desire to amend it or add things to it that aren't there, or remove things that maybe you don't feel are necessary, you're more than welcome to. It's designed to give you something to start with and work off of.
Okay.
If we adopt this, what is the process for amending it, should we want to amend it?
So, and actually I believe I referenced that in there.
Okay.
Section 5 of the resolution references that the Board of Supervisors may adopt amendments to these rules and regulations from time to time in order to comply with the Sunshine Act or as it deems necessary to further ensure order in the conduct of public meetings.
All right, thank
So essentially, it's not written in stone. It's something that as you go about your meetings, if it occurs to you that there's perhaps a need to amend it or add something that you hadn't initially considered, it's as simple as the board amending the resolution by a vote in a public meeting.
So if I were going to move for adoption of this, this is resolution 2022, we need to fill in that space with something, right? What I put in there, I need to,
No, we go in order of our resolutions. I think we're at 14. I can check really quick.
okay. I think we need to have this. We can certainly discuss changes as we go, but we need to have something.
Can we make it clear that changes need to be a board decision?
Well, absolutely. I think so. I think any changes to something like this has to be a board
Want to make
decision.
sure it's clear.
14.
14. All right. So I move that resolution 2022-14 regarding the resolution, the Township of Half Moon establishing rules and regulations regarding conduct of public meetings be adopted.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second, discussion by the board. There are no discussion. I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous. Okay. We have moved the administrative offices to 100 Municipal Lane.
Yeah, and,
Do we want to authorize the wiring to go forward with that, or leave it be, or skip it for tonight?
well, I think we need to address it. I would like to volunteer to develop the plan because the proposal was withdrawn by the architect. I don't like how it was done, but it was done. To move the administrative offices, I would like to develop the plan with the approval of the board. And it includes the necessary office arrangements and things for a proper operation of a professional office. There are alternatives to construction. There are things such as demountable wall offices, which provide privacy, and sound transmission class as good as an office, as good as a wall. I have actually contacted a vendor who I've worked with over many years, and there are different alternatives on the market. I need to get some pricing. I need to have a basic layout, a concept for arranging the offices, which I can do. There is a requirement, there is a change of use permit requirement, and that application can be completed from here and sent. I'd be willing to work on that as well. to do it properly. And then once we have the plan, we can install the technology, the wiring, the utilities, make any changes, any kind of electrical changes to accommodate the office space. And once our space is prepared, then we could actually make a physical move. I'm not going to say I'm going to have this done by May 1st or anything like that, because it requires some planning. But I think we can do this, not cheaply, but I think I can accomplish this less expensively. I spent 35 years doing this kind of work. I've done the hand layouts myself. I've moved people. I've managed the technology involved, even the current technology as well. Penn State has a lot of technology in their buildings. And I grew up with that from the time we had, each person had a phone and little else, to, voice over IP phones, all kinds of different kinds of computers, multiple computers in their offices, from from coax to Cat 4 to Cat 5 to Cat 6, wireless access points, the whole 9 yards. So I'm willing to put the work into it.
All right,
to
so
do it.
that's a motion.
So I move that I be allowed to pursue this plan and schedule and pricing to present to the board for approval, and to do it on the quick.
Do I hear a second?
No, second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion by the board?
I'd just like to point out that we had a professional architect who had given us a proposal on what needs to be done to make this happen, and he has withdrawn his proposal because of the recent actions and positions of this board. He felt that it was an embarrassment to deal with us at this point.
And Bob, I might just comment on that. As a professional, as a fellow licensed professional, design professional, I take umbrage to that letter. I read that letter, and I would never send a letter like that to a government board, nor would I receive one like that, okay, without challenge. It's simply unprofessional to write a letter like that. The proposal he provided, this turned into a very expensive, extensive project, and it's not that difficult. And I have a problem with people writing letters like that put AIA next to their name.
Duly noted. I do believe that in America you're allowed to
And I know
write
why
whatever
it
you
was
want to
done as
whomever
well.
you want.
I
so.
also know why it was done. We've got a bunch of angry people that are upset about a lot of different things, and the last thing we need to do is to inflame the passions even further. I've just made an offer to volunteer to do a lot of work, and I'm willing to do it. I'm an experienced professional that can do it, and I've offered to do it to this community. And I expect a little bit of respect for the efforts that I've made these past 2.5 months. I've been on this board for 2.5 months, and I've taken a lot of stuff, okay? And this is it's almost like a volunteer position. Yeah, I'm elected. I know I'm elected, and I'm doing my level best to serve everybody the best way I know how. And not only a lot of effort goes into this, but a lot of feeling and emotion and energy. I feel when you guys are talking to me, I feel it. Okay? I don't just go home and forget everything that was said here. I carry it with me, and I carry it day after day after day. This is the hardest job I've ever had in my life.
You're damn right.
And I've had a lot of hard jobs in my life and a lot of hard assignments. In 37 years in my profession, I'm still a registered professional engineer. I keep up my license. Okay, I take the training that's required to do that. I have to account for that training. I follow a code of ethics, a very strict code of ethics, that if I don't follow it, a lot of bad things can happen to me. Nobody else but me. Okay, including criminal sanctions. So I take this stuff very seriously. But when I get a letter from an architect like that, I've worked with lots of architects, including some of the biggest architectural firms in the world. And I've never received a letter like that. So I'm gonna do the work. I've promised, I've committed to doing it, and by God, I'm gonna do it no matter what it takes. And I'll work with Amy and Brett, I'll work with Bob, or anybody who wants to work with me. I'll work with code administration, with COG, or whoever I can tap, and all of my vendor sources. You know, I could probably even get a pretty big discount just because of all the millions and millions of dollars of equipment that I've purchased over the years. But I know I would rather install something as a commodity rather than construct it. Because construction brings with it all kinds of additional requirements. And I know I can do the job that people will be happy with.
May I pose a question
I'm
to our
not
solicitor?
campaigning for it, but I'm just telling you.
May I pose a question to our
Sure.
solicitor?
Well,
Zach, would having a sitting supervisor perform work such as been described to be a conflict of interest?
Is he there?
Zach? Look, Ron, I have no doubt that you know what you're doing. You have skills. I'm just
I understand where you're
worried
coming
that
from
things
there.
need to be done properly.
Oh, I
So-
certainly worry about that.
he's not taking any money,
Zach.
it's not an issue.
Did you hear my question?
I missed, Bob, it froze up for
No,
the
it's
entire
fine.
time you were speaking. I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. I'd like to know if having a sitting supervisor do the work that Ron has just proposed, is that a conflict of interest, or does that in any way open us up to any type of legal jeopardy? Yep, you have no audio. Damn it.
Zach,
I wish we had a sign that says we
You want
can't
to-
hear you. Sorry, Zach, you were, again, I couldn't hear you again.
I'm sorry.
It's right at the beginning of your reply.
He cut out again.
All right, I think it's
Okay.
good now.
Make it
I
quick.
can hear you guys. What I was saying, what would be presented is, what I'm envisioning is something is going to be presented to the board. The board will then have the opportunity to review some sort of plan set, something, as far as design work, and from there, if the board wants to engage, for any sort of second opinion, or if they want to engage with the relevant municipal code officials, I'm envisioning perhaps the building code official is somebody who should have an opportunity to chime in and review and offer any sort of input. But I don't think there's any inherent legal jeopardy. What I'm hearing as well is what I'm hearing is being contemplated is volunteering. So from the perspective of any sort of conflict of interest, if there's no compensation at stake here, then there wouldn't be any sort of conflict of interest. If there was to be any sort of compensation, then any supervisor in that situation, I would recommend that they would abstain themselves from any sort of vote to authorize the work. And that would apply to any situation in which a supervisor potentially could have a private financial stake in a decision of the board.
Right, thanks, Zach. I just wanted to clarify that. Second question, follow-up question to that. As far as the plan now to, for lack of better terms, build a cubicle farm, rather than good walls, locking doors, that kind of thing, is that, again, any type of problem that is going to present itself with security and the keeping of files and confidential information and that type of thing? I mean, I'm not expecting you to go into all of it, but, like, is it a good idea to try and go this route?
I'm not sure, is what a good idea? I'm not sure if I follow the...
The idea of just making it with cubicle-type false walls and that type of thing. Again, I'm just trying to make sure that before we put in all kinds of legwork to this, that, we then find out that, oh, well, in a municipality office, there are certain requirements and this isn't allowed.
that's why we're working with the code office, because we have to.
Right, there's, I would say, if I follow your question, what I would say is there's no specific requirements that govern, municipal security or, I'll put it this way, I know municipalities that have offices in old gas stations and all kinds of different places with all kinds of different setups. And as long as there's a way that you're maintaining sort of security as far as the security of the building at large, how you divvy up the workspace and the workstations and whether you have formal offices or false walls is largely within the discretion of the board as far as how you want to go about that.
Great. Thanks, Zach.
And
I
how that,
appreciate
you
it.
know, how that for staff and whatnot, yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
We have a,
Yes, please.
One question, since you're volunteering your time, could individuals from the community who have also experience assist you in that? I have led the business building project at Penn State. I'm currently leading 2 buildings for Ohio State, and I'd be willing to look at that. And your question about cubicles, you can create workspaces that foster collaboration, which it sounds like we need that here, and allow the security of the documents that you need. Most of that now is in the cloud. And so I would definitely be willing to, if the public is allowed to volunteer their time to assist in this project, because I think it's a worthwhile project.
Give me your contact information and then I'll contact you,
Okay, willing to help.
We'll take it.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to, you had a comment, I think, a couple of
Yeah, I did,
topics ago. I'm
yeah.
really sorry. I acknowledged you and then I forgot to, so I'm sorry. I just wanted to, if you had something to say.
Well, actually, a bit of my comment, I'll wait till Ron gets back, because some of it was addressed to him.
Okay.
in a
Yeah,
good
I'm
way.
sorry
But I
about
will
that. I
say-
got into my little pontification and.
Back with the, which you've already approved, but back with the sale of the projectors,
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Dave, I was waiting for you to say any discussion, and you didn't say any discussion
All
before
right,
the
well, I
vote.
didn't see any hands, but just trying to get through the agenda.
I know, but I did have a point though,
Sure.
about getting rid of the projectors now, before we know that anyone in here, other than our manager, knows how to handle that. Because you guys might need to get back to basics for a little bit and have a projector to put things up for us. Unless any of you are versed in what she's doing right now, and what Denise has going on.
Just to comment to that, not necessarily offering my services for this because I'm a supervisor and not a township manager, but knowing the technology, I'm an IT professional. And
Right.
the use of those projectors is just basically the same as the use of that television
I'm
set.
just glad we don't have to get back to chalkboards.
I thought you were gonna say you wanted to buy one of the projectors.
No, I don't want to buy one. No thanks. I have a chalkboard.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to derail
all right. I
but
saw
yeah, I
your
just,
hand up.
it clicked on me and I was like, oh my God, I forgot to, yeah.
Well, we were bouncing around with the attorney and
Yeah.
Okay, Ron,
Let's
Ms. Day
finish
has a
the
question.
motion and vote on that, and then, unless it was, what you wanted to say was regarding this issue.
No.
Okay,
Let's finish what we're doing and
call
then,
for the question. We got a motion and a second on having Ron do the legwork, and I guess he's gonna be working with Ginger Breon as well, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay?
nay.
One nay. Motion passes 3-1.
Okay, so Ron, I just wanted to say, I wanted to address what you were talking about. Number one, you came into a hornet's nest. Unbeknownst to you maybe, but against your will. You were here in the middle of a hornet's nest when you came in. Not against your will, but I don't think you knew how bad of a hornet's nest you were heading into. I appreciate your openness, your willingness to discuss things, to say, well, no, let's not put it off. Let's talk about the Roadmaster now. Because That's what all of us want. We just want people to talk to us, not tell us, you'll figure that out later, not say later on. We want somebody to say, oh yeah, this is what's happening, this is what we need to do, this is how we're gonna do it. And we all, I think we all appreciate the openness and your willingness to talk and not say later on. So, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
And we're lucky you're here.
Okay. Everything else is covered. The bids are out. Got department reports.
You talked about Little League. The Little League guys are here.
Oh, okay, Little League. That would be you. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were here. I thought it was just a report.
Thank you. So, my name's Corey Dillon. I'm the current president of State College Little League. And, the reason that I contacted you guys is, it's not that we don't have a rental agreement at this point with the township. We do. We paid $1,208 for the use of the fields, upper and lower, from April 1st to August 1st. Little League season in State College basically goes from last week of March almost to November 1st these days. There's a ton of kids playing Little League. In State College Little League, we have 770 kids registered to date. 176 of them come from Halfmoon Township. So the use of the fields here are pretty critical to us. And I've been president for 3 years. I've been involved with Little League since the last year that Halfmoon Little League was here, since back in 2013. We rent 26 or 27 fields across State College area, from Center Parks and Recs to a Property Owners Association to the Ferguson Township Lions Club, a number of different places. But this is the one place where we don't have like a long-term agreement or a standing agreement. And in those other entities, we're working through actually new agreements with all of them now because they're getting kind of old. But we know kind of what we can do, what's expected of us, and where the limitations are of what we can't do because of liability reasons. So I've reached out to the township a couple times, and it's not that I never got the answer that I needed. It's just that I was unsure of who to ask to. So I sent a note to Ron, or maybe it was to the supervisors, and Ron responded to me. But it was unknown to me until earlier this week that there was an agreement from the township and State College Little League clear back in 2015 that apparently has never been signed. It seems like it's a good starting place. I have no idea why it was never signed. I reached out to the former presidents and asked. I didn't get a clear answer, but the only reason I'm here today is to ask if we could consider an agreement like that. We're as a Little League, we're so appreciative of the use of the fields. Like in State College right now, between Little League baseball and what's called travel baseball, which is not Little League sanctioned, the ability for a baseball team to practice is almost impossible. The fact that you guys have 2 fields here, and the fact that our lease agreement with you, there's open times in that agreement for the public to use these fields, and we're seeing them being used by the travel baseball teams. We're very appreciative of the time. The only thing that we're unsure of is things like, could we paint dugouts? If there's not a maintenance staff here, could we maybe help with the mowing in some capacity? What do we do if a light bulb burns out? Like, those are the things that look like are in that agreement to some degree. But from the Little League standpoint, we're not here to demand anything from you. We're just here to find out what you would allow us to do, what you guys would want to do, and how we could come up with an agreement that would be something that's not a year-to-year thing. It looks like the last one might have been a 5 or 7 year agreement. Little League requires us as a Little League to carry the liability insurance. We have to do background checks on all of our volunteers, so that's anybody that has contact with a child more than one time. There's 3 background checks that have to be completed. We're a sanctioned Little League, so we have to uphold all of the safety components of Little League, which is field maintenance, concussion protocol, first aid, knowing where the hospital is, all that type of stuff. And in addition to that, we do, our Little League is a sanctioned Little League, so, our Little League could essentially, maybe someday, get the Williamsport to a Little League World Series. And that's kind of the group that we're with, so we're just here to ask for consideration of some sort of agreement that, we're more than willing to sit down with whoever, solicitor, board members, managers or whatever, and come up with something. But there's somebody spent a lot of time on that existing agreement, and I think the second email I sent today is actually a revised agreement or with whoever the Board of Supervisors were at that time.
They're printed out in front of you, Dave.
I'd actually. I have it. No, I have it, I think.
Still playing ball?
Okay.
He aged out.
Half Moon has a long history with the Little League. How are you guys fit for fields and, is there enough to handle the kids that are coming to play, or
No.
are we short where we need to be?
So I will just say that if the municipal park or whatever the park is that's gonna be built on Whitehall Road, if that has baseball fields, they'll immediately be filled. And it's not just baseball. Our girls softball is part of Little League, and those numbers are really starting to grow. So, baseball fields in the center region,
They've gotten rid of a bunch of them, I know that.
yeah, there's not enough right now with the number of kids we have playing.
It's not in our municipality, but I sit in on several COG committees, and I know there are 2 phases of the Whitehall Road Park. I believe phase 2 contains 4 baseball fields, 2 of which are kid-sized. Again, don't hold me to this, I'm just pulling it out from memory. But, and then the rest of it is rectangular soccer fields.
Sure.
And the whole push for that park is because of the fact that the center region is, for lack of better terms, vastly understaffed with fields. And there are all sorts of leagues that want to play, but there are not enough fields to go around. And we also thought of trying to bring tournaments in to the region, because that is an economic boost, because you're bringing in people from all around the state who then will spend their money while they're here for the weekend for the tournament. So that is the plan for as far as Whitehall Road Park, but as you know, that keeps getting pushed out because of different issues.
Have you, well, obviously you saw an unsigned copy. Have you or your organization had a chance to review that? Is there anything causes concerns, anything you would like to change, amend, feel that we are not covering?
So I just found that 2 days ago. That was sent to me by a former president. We have a former board member who's an attorney that we usually let him read through things. He's pretty quick and has a lot of, he's very down to earth. I'd probably have him look at that. He was actually on the board when that was drafted, so I'm not sure if he would have looked at it then or not, but
Yeah, there's a 2013 agreement and a 2015 agreement.
Yeah.
I noticed that the agreement on the 2013 agreement is between Halfmoon Township and Halfmoon Little League Organization, whereas the 15 is between Township of Halfmoon and State College Little League.
Right, and it seems like, I just read through them briefly, but it seems like in the 15, they may have reverted back to the 13 for some of the structure of it, but.
It looks similar.
Yeah, and that was, I think 13 was the last year Halfmoon Little League was a chartered organization before Little League International disbanded them.
I mean,
So-
can we, somebody say something? All right. Can we have the solicitor look at an agreement?
We could authorize the solicitor to review it. And I don't, maybe you want to have your attorney take a look at it first and just see if there's anything in there that you got a concern about so that we're not spinning the
Yeah.
wheels over here.
The only thing I saw is, the times in that agreement don't align with the current times of what's, I don't know, Amy, maybe you remember, but there's times that the park's open to the public and closed to the Little League. They're not the same times that are in that document, so that would be one thing that would have to be amended to match what the current usage is.
When you're referencing times, you mean blocks during the month, not times of day?
Times of day. So it's
Oh,
my
okay.
understanding, I think we can use the fields from 4 to 9 weekly. I think from 8 to 12 Saturday. I think from 12 to 5 Saturday, they're open to the public. And like 5 to 9 again, they're reserved by Little League.
Yeah, it's something like that.
And
I
then
can't
all day
quite
Sunday,
remember.
it's open to the public.
It was done that way so public can have time on a weekend to
Right.
play on the field if they have the pavilion reserved or if the kids are just here.
Right.
You know, so,
And-
you know, we didn't want to block up the entire summer
Right.
and not let the kids in the neighborhood play.
Yeah, and the one thing we can do is once we get our schedule together, because we still have kids registering for Little League. Once we get our schedule together, if we see that there's times that we would not use the field, we would definitely yield that time back to the public. There's no need for us to tie
Appreciate
it up.
that.
I think we can put it all into an agreement of sorts and have both sides agree to it. I think the staff has, I know that Amy has a lot of experience with, past experience with the scheduling and things.
Sure.
Understand. I think we need to, I guess we have to present something to Zach in order for him to put together some kind of.
And Ron, if I can
Go ahead.
jump in, I didn't mean to.
Sure.
It's been going in and out again, so I've been trying to find the right time to jump in, but, and I haven't seen any of the old agreement that's been referenced, but, throughout a number of our municipal clients, we've got field use and maintenance agreements that we've done for baseball and frankly for a number of sports, but, so to the extent, maybe the old one, we want to kind of work off of something newer. I've got some examples that we could probably utilize or maybe kind of, merge the old one with some newer language. And so to the extent you'd like me to get involved, I'd be happy to do so. And I think Mr. Dillon's letter referenced a number of specific items that I think would be the type of things to indicate in this agreement, like, what are the maintenance responsibilities? And he references working on the infields and, what obligations are there to do upkeep and whatnot, things like that. So I think if you've got an old agreement and you've got some specific references here from Mr. Dillon as to some things that he wants to see hashed out, I think that's a good starting point to either update the old agreement or just simply maybe put something together new and sort of start fresh. So if you'd like my involvement, I'd be happy to help in essentially the point.
So what do we do?
Well, if you want to go over the thing, you need a copy of this, or you have one?
I have it, yep.
Okay, go over it, doctor it up, have your attorney take a look at it, get it into Amy Smith there, and we'll get it down to Zach, and have him do the review.
Okay,
And then we can adopt it officially at a meeting.
okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you,
Hopefully
guys.
before Little League season starts.
That starts in another week or so,
Soon.
so we'll be out here, but, yeah, we'll work diligently to get that done.
With that in mind, is there something that can be done simply, like to help get the fields ready for a week from now? Is there something that has to be done?
I mean, I've looked at it. Our volunteers will do a cleanup day out here in another week or so, and we can get the fields up and going on our own.
Okay.
That's not a
I just
problem.
want to make sure that immediate need is covered.
Yeah, and if there's any, like I said, if with the maintenance staff not being in place, if there's anything we can help with, we're willing to entertain that, so,
We appreciate that.
yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for it.
Department reports.
You're skipping, I believe we have a report that was provided by, by Hyacinth. I think she's here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Fire EMS Library Quarterly Update. Okay, I saw the Fire EMS. I'm sorry.
Please, come up. Somebody.
I'm with the library, should I come up?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be scared by what I'm carrying up. I'm Sharon Ravancic. I live on Susan Lane. The Little League reminded me my son got 4 teeth knocked out here once during a ball game, got carried in here during a municipal meeting, and there was a doctor here that was able to look at him right there. So that was good. So I have some information to give you. I have some things to show you and some things to tell you. I'll start with the numbers first. Last year, in 2021, Halfmoon Township residents checked out over 9,512 physical items. That does not include electronic resource checkouts, such as electronic books, audiobooks, magazines, music, or movies. And in this year, which we have the numbers for January and February, 1,639 physical items have been circulated to Halfmoon Township residents. And in as far as book drops go, in 2021, 1,749 items were returned to Brothers Pizza in Stormstown, and at the Unimart at Carson's Corner, at the route of 322 and 550. A lot of residents drop off their books there. 231 items were returned there. Well, wait. I'm sorry, hang on a second, please. 3,835 items were returned there. And in January and February of this year, so far, 231 items have been returned to Brothers and 758 to Unimart. And those numbers are trending higher than in 2021 so far and are close to pre-pandemic numbers in 2019. The biggest update so far is that SCLO has refreshed and redone their website. They really make the most of using their software. They really pull it out as long as they can to make them last. I encourage everybody to go there. And the changes to the website were done from feedback from patrons, if they were finding something confusing, if something wasn't working, if the layout just needed to be changed or refreshed. SCLO did it. They worked hard on it. So we encourage everybody to go and look at it. There's something for children, classes and events, books and downloads. And I have also followed them on Instagram, and I find that a fantastic resource. It's interactive, it's responsive, and you can immediately pull stuff out and find out what's going on. There's links to register for classes like toddler time and story time there. And the biggest thing, I guess, I want to tell you a little personal thing about how I feel about public libraries. When I had 3 children, and I have 3 boys, and they're a year apart, literally, and we made a big move out of the state of Alaska so my husband could finish school. And we had no money. And he was selling plasma. And like, the money they offered him was $13,000 a year at first. And then it bumped up to $19,000. And we were so happy when he landed the postdoc of $24,000. And so literally, he was selling plasma to finish writing his dissertation, and I had 3 little kids. We had 2 nickels to rub together. We couldn't afford to take him to the bookstore every week and buy him a book. We couldn't afford, barely afforded a TV set. But what I could afford to do was take him to a public library. And they could go in there and come out feeling like little princes. They could come out with bags of books that they could hardly carry with no limits. We could have movies. We could have things like, and my kids, they're adults now, they're in their 20s, but they could grab grab and go kits. I was just telling Lisa, our director there, that my youngest had a plastic backpack like this, which is this is a shapes kit. And so if your child is working on an issue, this one is all about shapes. But my son had one all about dinosaurs. And he was so proud that he could take something like this to school. There are puzzles, there's YMCA passes, there's Discovery Center passes, there are musical instruments. Public libraries are truly the great equalizer in our community. There is nowhere else. I can't walk into the National Aquarium for free. I can't walk into the Phipps Conservatory where I was just there for free. But I can walk into a public library and get my children puzzles, and I can get them musical instruments, and I can get them movies, and it's not just children, it's adults. We have, there are book kits, for book clubs that are so popular for adults. And I'm in a book club, and not everybody can afford the book every month. Not everybody can afford to walk into Barnes & Noble and just buy the book off the shelf. And not everybody can afford to go on Amazon and buy a book and have it delivered in 2 days so they can read it in time. Books get shared, they get passed around, and that's not really enough time to read a book, absorb it, and be able to discuss it and feel a part of your community. I truly encourage the supervisors to think about what SCLO means. And when I got my degree in library science, one of my professors told me there are two ways public libraries can go. And one is that you can, and you have to look at your populace. You have to look at the community you're serving, which is first. Not to disparage, I've read my share of Harlequins and Daniel Steele's, and, public libraries need those things. They're popular. But SCLO has stepped it up. SCLO has provided things to our community that not every public does, not every public library has been able to do. And we are fortunate to be a part of this and be so close to it. And it would be a shame to pull out of it. And so that's what I'm here to say. My passionate, once again, plea for public libraries and to offer a sampling of what SCLO has offered. And my kids are, how old are they? 25, 24, 23. One's married. He actually lives part of the time back in Alaska. And so one's in the military. But they remember this. And they remember, I didn't have to tell them, no, you can't have that book. No, we can't afford that right now. And sometimes I did, don't get me wrong, sometimes I had to. But it was never books, it was never movies, and it was never kits like this. And so I would really encourage this community to really think about, funding and the money that goes to SCLO. It's not wasted. It's not. And so Lisa, the director of SCLO, is here to answer questions. I'll answer questions.
She said she'd take me through it for a
Yeah,
tour
oh
here.
yeah. So anybody that wants a tour, the supervisors or anybody here, anybody online, and I'll post it on Facebook. Anybody that wants a tour, let's go on a tour. Let's go see it. Let's go see SCLO behind the scenes and the computers and the Wi-Fi. And let's see what's there. The art gallery. Let's see what's there. The summer reading program. Let's see. Before we decide that we don't need it, everybody that says we don't need it, they have to go see it. So I'm done. And it's 9:53, so unless anybody has anything else to say about it.
Nope, you just got buried behind the fire and the EMS, and I apologize.
Okay. So.
I would just like to thank you for highlighting the value that the library offers this community for their tax dollars. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Greg, I just want to tell you that I had my 10-year-old grandson not too long ago, and I said, "You want to go to Barnes & Noble?" And he said, "Can't we go to the library?"
All right, department reports. We got anything we need to read out tonight?
Just make it part of the record. Hearing none. You got any COG reports?
Nothing pertinent to the group at this time.
Ron?
No.
Chuck? All right. Anything for the good and welfare? Hearing none. A motion to adjourn.
Oh, will you take citizen comments during the good and the welfare? I'm sorry, I get.
We had citizens' comments early, but if you'd like to say something, you're more than welcome.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Virginia Squire, and I live on Loveville Road, and I would just like to thank Ron for your patience, your willingness to listen, and your thoughtful responses to the discussion. After the last meeting, I went and read Robert's Rules of Order because I have some concerns that we're not exactly following them. When, like, Dave, I'm sorry, but the chair is supposed to be neutral.
Under Robert's rules, but this is a township of the second class, so
Well,
it's
so
not
I
quite
would,
that.
I would just like to say, to request then, because sometimes I feel that you're very dismissive of people when they are asking. I would again like to request that this board consider reorganization and have Ron step up because you're willing to listen and take into opinions that you don't like necessarily. I mean, you're being more transparent than I think Mr. Piper is, and I think you're a better listener. And so I would like to ask again that the board reconsider reorganization. So that's.
I move that the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors reorganizes and selects a new chair and vice chair for the remainder of 2022.
I hear a motion. Do I hear a second? Having heard none, the motion dies. Okay, ready to go. Motion.
Hi. This is Hasan Kim. I had a bad connection, so I came back. Can I present my report?
Okay, well, if you want to do that, make it quick. We can hear you.
Thank you. So, as a Halfmoon Township is not part of a CRPI authority, I am participating as a non-voting member for Park and Rec Governance Special Committee. So we had an organization meeting in February and had a
Hyacinth. Yep. We gotta do something about that.
responsibilities, duties have been expanded to high-level oversight of the operations and capital projects in the following. So I know some of our residents have been participating in various programs offered by CRPR. So they are Center Region Senior Center, the Millbrook Marsh Nature Center, 2 community swimming pools, leasing from the COG the land of the 3 regional parks for financing capital project development and operations, leasing on the interim maintenance facility while the authority proceeds to develop and operate new centralized maintenance facility as a part of a Whitehall Regional Park, and operations for leased sports field at 3 elementary schools, acting as the official grant and donation conduit for all regional facilities and for designated municipal parks programs, and providing policy oversight for CRCare agency, staff, programs, facility operations within the established framework for the Center Region COG. with consultation with the staff, determining operational fees, policies, and procedures, and to provide future responsibilities as authorized by the COG General Forum. So in short, what we did was wanted to address and clarify any confusions and ambiguities of the responsibilities and duties of the authority board. So as time goes on, we are delving into more specific issues related to the authority. Any questions?
Any?
Hyson, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, the first, again, 20 seconds or so of your presentation went without audio. So I don't know if you want to backtrack a little bit and fill that in, or.
Actually, I sent my report to Denise.
Yes.
Was she able to read? I have a really bad connection.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's what she's going to do right now. Thank you.
It was
Thank
sent
you.
to the board.
Yeah.
I can read it if they would like.
You want to cover the first half? Go ahead.
Just one moment. As Halfmoon Township is not part of the CRPR authority, Center Region Parks and Recreation, I am participating as a non-voting member for the Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee. We had an organization meeting in February and had the first meeting on March 23rd, Wednesday. Most discussions focused on what authority board is, which has full responsibility for administering operations and capital projects approved by the COG General Forum. Authority board responsibilities and the duties have expanded into high-level oversight of the operations and capital projects in the following. Center Region Senior Center, and I think this is where she picked up.
Yeah.
The Millbrook March Nature
Yep.
Center.
Okay, thank you.
Just to reiterate, though, to summarize it at the end there, it says, in short, the CRPR Governance Special Committee wants to address and clarify any confusion, ambiguity of the responsibilities and duties of the authority board. So, I guess if we have any questions for her regarding the authority, now's the time.
Well, we're not a participator, so.
No, but I will say that she serves on the board for us in a non-voting capacity, as pointed out. A plurality of Halfmoon Township residents actually take advantage of the many programs offered by the Center Region Park and Recs. So while we are not a participating member per se, she is on the board for us to, so we have a voice because we are part of this greater community. And she at least gives us input when major decisions are being made regarding the parks and the programs therein. So, did I get that right, Hyson?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, as a lot of our residents, we are using park and rec programs
Yes.
across the region, but we are not paying as a township, but we are paying individual household.
Yes, which are dues when, like, so if you're buying a pool pass or Little League sign up or anything like that, we pay out of or non-member municipality rates, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is
Individually, we do.
All right. Thank you. All right, let's entertain a motion to call it a night.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Well, here's a second. Chuck seconds. Ron moves. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Adjourned.